You should be good.
Good afternoon. This is the regular meeting of the Georgetown Public Utility District Board of Directors. It is November 12th at 2:04 p.m. I'm calling the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Director Amy Fisher,
Present?
Vice President Michael Saunders,
Present.
Director Mitch McDonald, Treasurer Robert Stovall, remote,
Absent.
He
Not
is
yet.
absent so far.
absent, and President Donna Seaman.
Present.
Madam President, in just to inform you, I did hear from Director Stovall. He is on his way to the office now to meet with us, so he will be here when he's here. For the record.
Okay, Director Saunders, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, thank you. I guess we're up to adoption of the agenda. And do you have any changes we need to make for the adoption of the agenda?
Not at this time.
Thank you. Are there any? I guess, are there any public comments for adoption of the agenda? No public comments? Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Public forum. Pursuant with Government Code Section 549543, Brand Act, members of the public should be afforded the opportunity to speak on any agenda item. The board president will call for the public comment. Those wishing to address the board on a manner that is not on the agenda and within the jurisdictional authority of the district may do so during the public forum. Follow the procedures for speaking. Public members assigned to provide comments must raise their hand, wait to be recognized by the board president, speak from the podium, and begin stating your name. If participating via teleconference, please utilize raise your hand feature. The president will call on you, addressing you by name or phone number indicated. Comments must be directed only to the board. Disruptive conduct shall be not permitted at any board meeting. Persistence in disruptive conduct shall be grounds for summary termination of privilege to address the board. There are 3-minute time limit per speaker and or 15 minutes total. The board is not permitted to take action on items addressed in the public forum. The board president is responsible for maintaining an orderly conduct. Public forum is now open. Is there any public comment? Public forum is closed. So, do we have any reason to pull any of the consent items? Okay. I guess we're up to office manager's report.
We need to vote on the consent calendar. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have can I have a vote,
I make a
a
motion.
motion to pass the consent calendar as it states?
I make a motion to pass the consent calendar as it states.
I'll second. I mean, we didn't need public comment on that.
Is there any public comment? I don't think so. Public comment closed. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we're up to office finance manager's report. Financial reports, investment report, grant report.
I think at this time, if there's any questions from the board, we can take the questions from the board first. There's no updates from staff at this time. You have an update?
No, I just wanted to mention that there's a lot because the final year end fiscal year 24-25 financials are in here. They should not change unless the audit started this week. So unless the auditor has a comment or a suggestion, these should be our final numbers. So the entire year is encapsulated there. And then our normal up to date this fiscal year up through September.
Okay, thank you. Are there any director comments on the, or questions on the finance report? Any public comment? Yes, Sheree?
Yes. Okay, on the year rate, which would be the last page, 26 of 27. Down in the totals. It has EFTs. And I've asked this before, because the 4 point whatever million the year ended up being, or even on the monthly check. EFTs, because we don't see the payroll, everything that's paid by other than a check. Electronic funds transfers. Where on any of these reports is that?
What page are you on?
You know, it could be the last page of a check report. Actually, when I'm looking at, well, it's the yearly one, yeah, 26 of 27. For the fiscal year. Grand total. The one through June 30th.
Yeah, we have to say nothing.
No, okay. I'm trying to.
Well, and
there's a lot
it-
of things.
You know, 2.1 million in checks, but you spend 6 or 7 million a year.
Oh, you're just commenting because it's blank.
I mean, how do we see the difference? I mean, here we have checks, but we don't see electronic fund transfers.
Yeah, so that's why we're moving out of the Encode system into the OpenGov system. All of that will be encapsulated. This wasn't available to us since those don't hit the GL. They don't hit the GL as an electronic funds transfer. They are a journal entry process. So we take the reports out of ADP, all of that comes out of ADP. And we upload that to the Encode system and it just hits the GL account numbers, not
Okay.
those type of transaction.
But shouldn't we have a report that shows those figures? Because this is checks and this is, I mean, that's.
We do not have a report because the EFT system within Encode does not
Or
get
any
access.
system. I mean, any of the systems, you can print out a report of what else has been.
All of those reports include personnel, financial information. There, you could request that information and have it redacted.
I
But,
mean, I don't want.
I don't have a-
Personal persons, you know. One
but that's
sum.
what it's showing is it doesn't, it totals, but all of that would have to be redacted, those reports that come out of the payroll system.
Okay, but don't you send $1 amount someplace, total dollar?
Through a journal entry,
It's, yeah, there's just,
it hits our account, our bank account
So-
directly.
What is that journal entry? It used to be in the mom report. You could get the,
That's why we're moving out of the Encode system. There's a lot of features we can't access.
you mean in title?
correct, that's in code.
Yeah, Encode is the company, Tyler Technologies is the version that. we
No, I've
have.
never heard of
Um,
it.
Uh,
Right, but-
Tyler Technologies is the company, in code, it's a number, it's like Windows 8, it's in code, and then a number is the software we use.
We're paying Tyler, so. But to me, it seems like we're only getting a third of the picture with the checks.
If you look into the budget to actuals, all of that information is encapsulated, all the salaries.
So
That's
the
all
year-
EFT.
Is there a year to date? Below that is the year to date total?
It's just one of the line items in each department.
Well, yeah, but is there a grand total on all those at the bottom?
The fiscal year end are all grand totals,
So you have to add up each one,
correct?
and you don't have something that adds up each subtotal to make a grand. total.
Not for the last 5 years.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, but I think you're not getting all the information.
Madam President, may I suggest for future public comment, it's best to receive all the public comment addressed to the board, and then the board can direct staff if they want to respond to it. It really shouldn't be a back and forth. It's fine for the public to have questions and the board can direct staff to respond. I just think it's the back and forth, and then it's hard to keep track of time and there's other issues, so just,
And that's been a problem we've had,
yeah.
that's been allowed to go on for years.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm not saying you're, I'm just saying that as a board, we should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We're up to informational items for me?
When you close public comment, I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're closing public comment. You have a question, Mr.
Yep.
Director Saunders?
For the financials on the investment report, it doesn't have the pooled the pooled stuff from are we using the medium or short term liability pools?
So, I'm so sorry. I was,
The CalTrust pools, are we using them?
we do not use
No.
CalTrust.
All right, so I'm not using it. We're just using CalPERS and
We use
Class
the class
and,
and
Leaf,
and
okay.
Leif, and then we have the
and the other.
treasuries, the CD, sorry.
All right.
Question two.
Director Fisher?
Any new word on appropriations for grants? So it sounds like there's been movement in the last few days.
So just because the government has, I mean, today's the first day of them coming back, I venture to guess we will hear something in the next few days. But it's probably trending in the right direction, and honestly, the best person to ask that question to is Mr. Don Police, who is gonna be talking during the legislative update, and
Right.
Greg Morris, and they're both our federal advocates, so they're gonna have the absolute most up-to-date information.
Thank you.
Any breaking comments? Okay, thank you. Informational items, Director McDonald?
I went on the Healthy Forest Tour in Placer County a week or two ago. That's it.
Director Fisher?
Did attend the irrigation workshop at the fire station 2 weeks ago. Is that what it was? I appreciate the work that went into that and the reports. I encourage people to make use of the Resource Conservation District, and they can offer an awful lot to our ratepayers, and they do that for free. And they're a government agency, but they do a lot of advocacy work, and they're not regulatory. And also, if your community is not in a fire safe council, we had representation there from the Fire Safe Council. Very proactive group, so I appreciate that event. Not as well attended probably as we'd have liked, which I think our community is pretty notorious for being hard to get out at night, so. In the future, we can combine with things that are already going on, like football games and parades and things like that, probably pick up a few more people, but nonetheless, it was a good effort, and I got a lot of good information out of it, so thank you for hosting it. I wanted to comment that I had one person in particular who tried to pull up the embedded flyer image on the email, and I wasn't able to get it up myself, and they couldn't get it to come up on their phone email, and they networked around and they couldn't get yeah, and I mentioned this last year on some of our workshops we had for 218 and things like that. So if it was attached as a file or a PDF or a link, because they really wanted to go, and the words was, I talked to many people, they couldn't get the information, you need to have another one. And that was their request. I think about 5 or 6 people were contacted, so that's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Director Saunders?
Yeah, so the main parts from my report, with the RWA, the Watershed Resilience Pilot Project, that's the one that Department of Water Resources gave $2 million as a grant for them to do a study on the watershed for climate adaptations and projects. They're now at the phase of doing the vulnerability assessment and what we can do in terms of planning for it. So I'm planning to meet with Alexis, Adam, and Nicholas to go over vulnerabilities that cover our area to make sure it's captured in the report. So when it does go to DWR, any of our projects can match. And let's see, started meeting with the indoor water use working group. So Once again, these studies that show water use doesn't really correlate to everybody, so it's a giant pool and it's not divided into geographical regions. So I asked, is there a difference? They don't even have a representation of only septic use, because are there different usage when indoor water when someone's on septic versus the regular water system? So those are the things I'm trying to make sure the flags say we don't get penalized in our area for having a different water use. And we did have our investment report from Aqua. And one of the big things that came out of that was with CalPERS. So CalPERS fiscal year 24-25 had 11.6% rate of return. What does that mean for our agency? So there's a 2-year gap between their investment reports and what we see at our end. So in 2026, because the year before was, I think, a 6 or 9% return, our liability will go down, which means our CalPERS liability will unfunded will be low again, so it won't be a high number. And 2027, the liability will go down. There's an excess in investment, and they have a little formula they do, so it may decrease because they won't give you. It's set at 6.8, so that's greater than a 4% change. So they have a little calculation. So that they will have a vote on how much of that investment they use, and that will go back and they'll let us know, and that can affect CalPERS investments for their going forward in the employer rates, and also the amount of liability that'll go down for us. So those are the big things to look at. And one of the things we looked at in terms of that funding liability, so most of our money is in class, and class performs better than LAIF. So this is one of the tasks that I'll bring to the finance committee to look at, is for us to use our fidelity and class fundings to help fund our unfunded liability. And we know where's a set amount we put in every year. So if we put that in investment and we have a percentage over that, it covers for those times when the liability gap is lower or higher, and helps us keep protected from that. So that's another strategy we can use to help manage our unfunded liability. That's all I have.
Thank you. I didn't get mine in time, so you could just look at it. I attended the Mountain County meeting with the tour of the PCWA power stations and different dams and such. It was an interesting tour information that came out. A lot of interaction, learning about different opinions on what they think of Aqua and how it's not as quality as it had been before. And I guess there's gonna be new management in Aqua sooner or later, because they're hiring a new head. There, I also attended the irrigation forum in Garden Valley. I also went to a local water district meeting to see how other boards are run and how GM interacts with the boards. And I also am going to the water forum on 11/21 that was part of the consent calendar, but mine attendance will be no charge to the district. Operations managers report.
Sure. I gotta do a quick guys, because I want to highlight a couple things. So a lot of standard, production numbers and whatnot, but I wanted to highlight a couple of events we had happened. So there's there might have been a formatting issue, but the first two activities were there's like night work going on. So we had in October, we had a 10-inch and a 12-inch water main break, which is probably the two of our largest breaks in 15 years, and almost back-to-back nights. So I wanted to say to our crews that call them out. They did a great job, and getting the service back, restored as quickly as they can and restored, you know, in a safe manner as well. Both of the breaks were very difficult. One was kind of backcountry, and we call them cross-country lines where there's not really any roads to it, so they had to get access to. And luckily, you know, we've been investing in clearing some of these areas, and it was actually an area that was heavily overgrown with trees last year. We just actually had it cleared out, so that actually probably sped up the process, probably at least a few hours just to get access to it and actually get the repair done. Another one was just it's surprising how long the break was. Usually they're kind of small little sections that turned out to be, you know, over 20 feet of a pipe that was broken. So, but you know, we always talk about cost and how much things cost. I just wanted each of those breaks almost cost, you know, $3,000 in just material alone. Between, you know, some of the repair parts and that had to go into, not including, you know, just time it takes. You know, one of them was over 80 hours of labor time, one break. So that's, you know, that's a lot of guys working on a lot of equipment. A lot of equipment that we rely on and we count on. So we do our annual maintenance, you know, we have maintenance costs we do, and some of them are pretty steep, but this is why we do it. So it runs when it's ready to go, when we need it. Also, another one we got the generator or the compressor installed at Walton Lake, which seems like a small thing, but at a Walton Lake treatment plant, we don't have that compressor operating. The old one was almost 30 years old. The plant doesn't run. That's something good to have in good operating order, because it's one of those like small things that can just knock down really. So, the distribution tank coating, I did talk about that. We got the bids out, bid response. We're still working through those. We had a couple bid protests that will be presented in the next meeting. You guys will be able to see. So we're just getting through that. So if we'll have it in the December meeting. I know it was scheduled for November, but just getting postponed 1 month. Anything big? So the other CIP projects, we did do the Water Smart canal lining project we've been working on for a couple of years. We've got that actually done. We'll be closing that project out next couple of months. Just get our full reimbursement and everything with it. The AMI project, last one I'm gonna go over, part of the state appropriations. We have 4 more stations set up. So right now we have about 1,000 customers connected. With these stations, we'll still be able to get more. We have to install some antennas. They call them gateways. One of the gateways isn't quite functioning properly, so they're still trying to troubleshoot that one. So without the antennas, we'll still probably get at least a few hundred more. And then once we have the antennas, we should almost double that number. But Garden Park, Johntown Creek area, a lot of those customers are getting it. The first gate, third gate, and in between the second gate, there's a lot of terrain there, so some customers are or not. We're kind of waiting to see. We're gonna send a notification to all the customers that are reliably getting it. And we'll send that out probably next couple weeks. And the one in town here is the one we're having a little bit of issue with. We're working through it right now to get it figured out. That was pretty much. I was keeping it short, but I really wanted to highlight those 2 breaks. There's not something we see every day. They're big, hard spots to get to, long hours. So the crews did a great job within 1 week.
Back to back.
Back to back, pretty intense. I know a lot of the community had low pressure out of water for that, you know, different parts of the community. We tried to get our notification out as we could, tried to reroute water. You know, we had a couple learning experiences, different valves and stuff. We're gonna make sure they're operating correctly, you know, to replace them. So we're gonna make sure if we have another one, we have better flexibility to keep flowing water if we can.
Thank you.
Madam President, can I add something to his report?
Sure.
I wanted to just congratulate Adam. I received a letter from him from today from the JPIA that he passed and graduated the JPIA Leadership Essentials for Water Industry Program. So Adam did a great job. I just want to make sure that he gets public recognition for that great accomplishment.
Water Resources Manager, Alexis. Okay,
Is it time?
I was gonna wait till the end.
That's fine.
For all the comment.
She's to your left.
Right here.
I'm looking at you over there. I was like, wait a minute, and then I see things moving, I was like, wow, this is pretty good, you're doing good. Sorry, go for it.
Do you guys have any questions? Are we going back to doing formal report or are we doing just the question?
We'll just do the questions at the end if you, unless you have anything you want to highlight.
I don't have anything to highlight this, the last one.
Thank you. General manager's report.
I have nothing to report that's not inside of my, report.
Thank you. Any board directors' questions?
Thank you. Hey,
I get to do that. You don't get to do that.
I saw that, one of the main breaks, I don't know if it's the 10 or the 12, it's the 20-foot 8x8.
Yeah,
So I got a chance to see that,
yeah.
and I was over by Cherry Acres. And it was good to see the guys out there. And I did talk with Connor and Tyler,
Mhm.
and I thought I asked a question a couple of years ago about when they do the hydrants and they got those hoses.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought they were replaced, but they still take a shower with the flow coming through the hose and they come up like a sprinkler. And could we get
I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. It's,
when they flush the lines for the fire
oh, yeah, we do have diffusers. Not every single truck has them, but we do have.
in the hose itself?
That's what he's talking about. It's called, that's the diffuser is what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they get, you know, it's in the winter, in the summer, it's nice because it's 100 degrees maybe, but in the winter, when I saw it last time and I asked him, how's your new hoses working out? And he says, we didn't have new hoses. And they need one on each truck they would like. So
Yeah.
I asked, they didn't tell me. I just said, hey, you got those new hoses? So is that a diffuser?
Well, so there's different types, right? That diffuser they were using that they actually connects right to the hydrant. There's other types we have that they still make around the hose goes to that diffuser. So they kind of have two different options.
When I saw it was just coming from the hydrant,
Yes, yeah.
about 10 foot or more or less, and it was, you know, just
Yeah,
like one of those kids things in
Yeah.
the backyard.
yeah, yeah. So each one of those diffusers is like $2,500. So
Huh?
each one of those diffusers is like $2,500. So yeah, for each truck, yeah.
Any other director comment? Director Saunders?
I know we have our asset management. Did any of those pipes break before? So this was their first, so no predictive on those at all.
Yeah, that's the Cherry Acres was surprising. I didn't think that's older style C900 pipe. But still thick, it's still thick wall. It's not some of the thinner stuff we have over on Reservoir Road. So this one I hear wasn't as because it's a hard area, probably a lot of soil movement caused that one. But yeah.
I want to thank you for the, getting the information out in the Cherry Acres. I know I was getting complaints about, lack of notification to customers on the one the day before. And I let Nick know, so, and then you guys were putting the information out. So definitely when Cherry Acres happened to be the next day, congratulations. All the notifications went out.
Yeah, and it really is like the one up here happened in the middle of the night. So it's harder sometimes to get those like clear notifications out. The Cherry goes, afternoon, we have a lot more resources, to be able to get those. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And thank you guys for doing it and getting it done quick. Okay, I'm up to public. Steve,
Yeah, Stephen Dowd. I went up to Stumpy Meadows this weekend. I took my wife up. We had a little picnic at the parking lot and I took some pictures. If you want to see my pictures, I got great panoramics of the lake. Smooth as glass. And they're on what's really happening, what's actually happening on the divide. You gotta check it out. And then but I gotta commend him for him and the crews. They cleaned up that bank on the dam. It's completely clean. I mean, there's not a speck of wood on there. And before it was, remember all the logs are up there and then people trying to cut it up. It's completely clean. It looked beautiful. great job, and around the dam too.
Yeah, they'll be back after winter.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, cause all that dead stuff falling in, all that stuff down on the opposite bank of the boat ramp, that's all gonna end up in there.
I did see those pictures posted, thank you.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Neat, huh? I mean,
Yeah.
just like flats.
yeah.
Still pretty full up there too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right up to the booms, I mean, not
About 83%.
83%.
No interaction. Sheree?
Okay, I have a question that's for Adam. Who does the Water Smart notifications? Because first one I got about a month ago, you were repairing something that looked like in front of the Grange. That still hasn't been covered, if you guys were gonna put a Marshall.
Yeah.
Whatever that repair, I don't know if that's your repair, but it's still bare pipe sticking out of the ground. I don't know if you,
Yeah, I'm not aware of that one. I mean,
it could be
It could
a
not be.
irrigation person's, but I don't know. Anyway, it's gonna freeze. So the first time I got a call, so I ran over, called my neighbor, had her fill water, everything, and no water got shut off. Can't you pinpoint from this point on?
Yeah, we can pinpoint, we had a planned outage and Cherokee breaks happened after they had mobilized that before they shut the water off. And they had to leave, but we collectively do notifications here. So there was a mistake one sent out.
Right, that was the
that we-
second one.
That we tried to correct, but yeah, we can't pinpoint where it's gonna be outage. Yeah.
Well, it would be helpful because having to fill your tub up and everything else to then it not go off.
Well, yeah, that was just emergency and we.
Well, this was a regular repair. It was before these things. It was like a month ago.
So the repair that you're referring to, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna answer if you'd like me to answer the concern. We didn't have to shut off the water as much as you're referring to. We were able to bypass, we thought we were going to turn the water off for much longer than we
Right.
did. And we were able to bypass the water and utilize a auxiliary tank so that people didn't actually have to have their water shut off. So it was precautionary to tell them, hey, the water's gonna be off for X number of hours. Our crews were better than they thought they were going to be, and we were able to get the repair fixed without having to actually turn the water off for as long as it was gonna be off.
So then why didn't they send a thing saying that we weren't gonna turn it off?
They did turn it off, but it was like in the moment, they had an auxiliary tank and they assumed the auxiliary tank would run out before the repair was going to be finished. That's why they were cautioning everybody to fill up their extra, to gather extra water.
Anyway, and hopefully they can do better pinpointing.
Any other public comment? Okay, that's closed. We're up to committees. Irrigation committee, Christie isn't here. Everything to say?
No, wait, because the irrigation committee was canceled for lack of quorum.
Yeah, it was canceled for lack of quorum and we need to address that. We had a system in place before where we would get notified the day before if there was a quorum before the meeting. And someone in the office would make calls to each individual a committee member. And I think we need to go back to that because multiple people I talked to on the irrigation committee claim that they did not get notified of the meeting. So we're not having people showing up that on the day of the committee meeting and there's no quorum. It would be good to have an idea before. So we're not wasting the public's time and our time.
The emails work fine for the finance committee. I never saw any problem there.
This one has not worked, and we finally got it where it would work when calls were made out or called either Monday and they checked off who was coming and who wasn't, and then we knew. So that's just how it was working better for that. And the it would have been nice if we could have had more committee members at that irrigation outreach. And I think if and when we do it again, we need to definitely have the committee involved a lot more than nobody being there to really do much. Because John was there as a fire member, not as a committee member. So. Finance Committee, that would be Stovall or Saunders. Do you have anything to,
They did vote for a new their new chair, and the other thing coming up is they will be going over the end of the year budget review, so that's the big thing coming up.
thank you.
Sure.
The Strategic Planning Committee. That has been an ongoing for over a year now where it's been sitting dead. I would like to urge that we either put a new committee member in. I did ask last meeting that we have the current draft being put up on the SharePoint site so that we can look at it. And I don't know if that's been done yet.
We don't have a SharePoint site for
Where we
that
were
yet.
working for when the policy committee was working, we put it up on the share drive or share, whatever. And Saunders and I were, when we were doing the multi policies, that we could get those done and review them prior to and make comments on it prior to the meeting. And it worked very efficiently, and I had asked that we get that put up on there.
I would be happy to put it up then. I'll have to make a new group that is for this this ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
I will get that taken care of.
So I'm not sure how we need to move forward on this committee because I've asked now twice, so this will, at the end of the meeting, this will be the third time we have this move to come to the board, whether the board is gonna finish this thing or the committee finishes it and then gives it to the board in December, because this has been going on over a year where it's been sitting. So,
It should at least come to the board with what you have, and then you
that's
can add.
where I'm at. So it's like, this is number 3, so December meeting, this should be on the agenda. Do we have any, you have something?
I ask, who's the new chair?
It's in there,
Wilson?
mhm,
Bruce?
William Gorns.
William Gortz.
Okay, and how is it, and we're still trying to recruit,
Yeah, we're still recruiting for both committees still.
No, we have a full committee for irrigation.
All right, just our committee then, finance.
I've always had my best luck beating the pavement, doing my own personal recruitment. If anybody's got any ideas or,
It did run in the paper. It ran, it's on our Facebook, it's on our website. It's about the community, so.
yeah, okay, thank you.
The Gazette actually ran an article for us about it.
And I saw those and they were well done.
Hmm.
Any public comment on the committee?
Is there only 3 on the committee?
Correct.
Or
I gotta show up.
Can invite you.
sorry.
Okay, close public comment. We're up to action items. We're up to legislative updates.
Can I start out with my report before we pass it over?
Yeah, we have a couple of things to go up for this one, so Director Saunders is gonna start. I'm gonna hit something up and then we have our federal advocates online.
Yep. So for the state updates, are you gonna cover the state updates with Aqua as
Yes.
well? All right, so the state updates, the updates from the Aqua State Legislative will be done by our general manager. I do have the governor's desk, the bills that we supported, watched, or didn't favor that was signed into law and chaptered, and the ones that are vetoed. Vetoed bills are still under consideration with the state legislature, so if they get a 2/3 vote, they can overturn the governor's veto. The ones that were vetoed were all of the PFAS mitigation, one that would, basically the state should, provide, there was no funding mechanisms, so these were all ways to alleviate funding from the water agencies, so those are why they were vetoed. And the water quality one. And last week I talked about the Ventura bill, so that was the one of issue. When you guys get this in the minutes, it does have a brief description of all the laws as well, so it doesn't just have the name. That'll help you. State-wise, federal-wise, some of the issues, one is the shutdown, so hopefully we'll get updates from our federal And a big thing happened, well, one of the things this year with the shutdown and Doge and all of that, the US Forest Service only treated 107,000 acres. That's 34% of the 4-year annual average, so it's way down. So vegetation mitigation risk continues to be problematic from the government side, and as you know, 70% of our forests in California are government ones, so we kind of have our hands tied with that, and that's why we have to do as much as we can at our end from our water district without spending our money. On the Colorado River yesterday, there was no agreement between the 7 states, so that still moves forward. They have about a year to come up with an agreement before the administration takes it over. 30% of California, Southern California water comes from the Colorado River, so as they lose that, the 10% that comes from groundwater isn't gonna cover it. 60% of California water comes from our region, so we have to start looking at possibilities, and hopefully our federal advocates can give us more update on that, and I'll let our general manager.
Really quickly, I'd just like to go over the Aqua State Legislative Committee. We met last week on Friday for the potential new sponsor bills for the year. One of interest that I'll start with is at the last board meeting, Director Saunders brought up the LIRA Low Income Water Rate Assistance Program. And we are also supporting that bill. So we will be getting a letter out to a potential author of support. There is not an author yet. The issue, it's Aqua gave a support in concept motion. What that basically means is there are some questions that need to be answered on bill language before they can actually put it into print. And namely, it's what's the funding mechanism? And so that's always the biggest issue of how they're going to maintain this low income rate assistance program. The reason that we take interest in this is we already have a low income rate assistance program that will probably be more generous than most of the ones that come out from the state. So we want to make sure that any potential assistance programs that are already in existence can be grandfathered into this bill. So we are going to watch this one very closely because typically when an outside justice group wants to put forward an low income rate assistance program, they are very dependent upon every agency pitching in, and then there's a big state organization that's developed, and then that money gets disseminated back out. And we are trying as water districts to kind of drive the ship, make sure it's in our best interests, but it also helps the customers as well. So that's why we're taking interest in that. A couple other ones, EID actually put in 2 legislative proposals. One was a Surplus Lands Act amendment, which is to benefit, if the lands can benefit a public good, then we can avoid the Surplus Lands Act. And then the other one is administrative hearings. This is to speed up the process when you go before the State Water Resource Control Board. And the last one is they're starting a wildfire liability working group. There was a bill last year that came out about water districts having to do more to provide water for a forest fire. And if they were not able to provide water, then we could be held liable for said damage. And we are trying to ensure that that is not going to be something catastrophic for water districts, because we are only in control of what we can control for water. A lot of the stories you heard where fire hydrants weren't working and firefighters were trying to fight fires with no water. There's a lot more to behind the story of those headlines. So we're trying to get in front of those as a water association. Then the other thing that they did is they put into place referrals to different aqua committees. So if we have issues that we see, they started a process of what we can vote as a legislative committee to help other of the committees. There's several other committees: agriculture, energy, federal affairs, finance,
Local government.
local government, and all of those kind of have different purviews than state legislation. So we are referring to bring more people into the fold, more great minds to try to figure out solutions to some of these problems. So there was several other items that were brought up. And at this time, if it is okay with you, Madam President, I'll turn it over to our federal advocates. We do have Don Police and Greg Morrison from Vectus DC on the Zoom.
Please. Welcome, gentlemen.
Terrific. No, thanks for having us. We enjoy these.
I think you're muted, Don.
Oh, I'm sorry. Give me
Not
just a sec.
talking.
No, Don, I could hear you.
Oh, I am.
No, we're still not getting you. Hold on, let me see if I got volume issues
Yeah,
here. Greg, can you just say something to see if we got you?
Sure, I'm not on mute, so hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, I'm not on.
Oh, I see.
I'm not on
I
mute
apologize.
either.
Give me 1 second. It should be coming through now.
All right.
All right, how
How's
about
that?
now?
Better? Okay. Great. All right. No, thank you. Again, President and board, we appreciate this time to spend with you, and especially it's actually a pretty monumental day that the long shutdown, the historically long federal government shutdown is about to end this evening. So I'll give you a little bit of an update on that, what it means for the rest of the Congress, what it means for the district's funding requests, and I wanted to also touch on Prop 50 a little bit and implications for our congressional delegation moving forward. Greg will certainly add his color given his depth in the water side as well. As far as the shutdown, I mean, I've been doing this for 35 years on Capitol Hill, either as a chief of staff or as a consultant, and I've never seen a wild and woolly year like 2025. Started with Doge, as Director Saunders and General Manager Snyder mentioned. It's just continued the relentlessness of various fits and starts. My bottom line and my thesis would be that the federal agencies that we work with really haven't had a chance to get started yet, because no sooner did Doge happen in those first almost 200 days of layoffs and cuts and everything else, then the shutdown, which has really gone on not since midnight on October 1st, as a lot of people say, but really the last time the House of Representatives was here on the ground and in session in DC was September 18th or September 19th. It hasn't been a ghost town. The staffs have been here. Congressional staff's not getting paid, by the way, but they've been still working. But I have to say the federal agencies have been largely silent, very much aggressively closed. When you would call them or email them, you'd get bounced back saying due to this government shutdown, and they, in fact, were for a while just saying due to the Democratic caused shutdown, which I'm not offering an opinion on, just saying that's what happened. So we've had a hard time back here keeping up on the federal agency side, but on the other hand, the congressional office has been excellent keeping us up to speed on what next steps are. All right, so what does this mean? The House is going to vote tonight, the same measure that the Senate already approved to keep the government open, really just for, it's going to come out to another couple of months, and we're going to face the same deadline of January 31st. So we're certainly not out of the woods yet. There's been an agreement to vote on some of the Obamacare tax credit extensions. I know this has all been in national news, and I don't need to, dwell on that portion too much. But what it means for annual appropriations, we're already full almost 2 months into FY26, where we should have had a budget by now, but we're not. It looks like it's going to be another year where we're going to go into the first quarter of the new calendar year before we get current year appropriations. At this point, they're putting through a 3-bill appropriation package, including agriculture, legislative branch, and veterans military construction, none of which directly impacts our district's projects at this point. The next package that we're looking at will include the Interior Bill, Labor, Health and Human Services, Defense, and the Commerce Department. So that's going to be the big kahuna. As they're saying, it's on those bills amount to about 70% of the budget. Senator Schiff did request a nice robust $3 million for the district for, really kind of the next phase of the district's projects back over the summer. I just want to tell you right now, I'm actually quite pessimistic it's going to get through. There It's still technically alive, but at the EPA cuts, the EPA budget is really small, and I think it's going to continue to be. I'm here to tell like it is, but I think we're very grateful for Schiff putting it forward. Uh, I hope it changes. We're keeping our nose to the grindstone, and been talking to the Senate staff, minute by minute on that. But this year, I don't think it looks likely that we're going to get a project unlike last year when Congressman Kiley got us the 1.25 million. It's just, again, a question of the size of the pie and everything else. We'll keep trying. Sometimes it's hard also to get projects approved 2 years in a row. But again, my job is to convey my best estimation of what's to come. So hoping it might change. We still have some time, but I don't see there being enough money in the what really amounts to the 0.5% of the Clean Water Act funding to go through. And that's just the way it is right now. I was encouraged first to see and hear, talk to Congressman Kiley, Staff Director Saunders, and I had great visits early in the year with both of our congressional offices, Congressman Gray and Congressman Kiley's staff, as well as over on the Senate side. They understand the district now. They, very much on the radar screen, as was shown by last year's appropriation and also by the 20.5 million that sits in the WRDA account, ready to be drawn down in future years as well. So again, you've really put yourself on the map back here, and it's just, I think, more of a reflective of the times we're facing as much as anything individually on the district. My last thing is the leadership, in no reflection or aspersions against the Trump administration, but they just frankly haven't filled out most of the agencies. There have been dramatic cuts in a lot of the leadership. They have yet to confirm people in some of the higher jobs. For example, in the Department of Interior, I know it was mentioned the Colorado River situation right now, and the Arizona delegation just asked for further time to keep negotiating. There's really been not much leadership. Part of that may be part and parcel of the shutdown, but they have yet to have a lot of high-level folks confirmed at the Department of Interior. EPA Region 9 job is actually open again. They had a director of that post appointed who resigned, I think, back in April or May, and that job is still out there. So it's just really been, as I mentioned in my first sentence, really one of the more odd, inefficient years back here, to say the least. And we're doing all we can to work on through it. And I think we're well positioned to, hit the ground running again in January, no matter what happens with the next cycle, and continue to be aggressive. Greg, I want to stop there. Do you have anything to add? And then I want to jump into Prop 50 and its implications a little bit.
Yeah, the only thoughts I might provide, and I'll be about as much of a ray of sunshine as you've been there, Don, but about things in Washington, D.C. But it's interesting to look at. It's a very, very short calendar left in this congressional year. So I don't see, there's a lot of bills out there that I know a lot of you are watching, the Permit Act, the Speed Act, the Fix Our Forest Act. There's a lot, what those bills are trying to do are trying to streamline NEPA processes under the Clean Water Act and through the Bureau of Reclamation projects, et cetera. And when I say it's a short calendar, it's a very short calendar. If any of those bills have not had a markup yet, to try and schedule a hearing to do that takes a lot of time, and not a lot of time, but in the short calendar, I think that's too much time, given the Thanksgiving holiday and the Christmas holiday coming up. So I think from a work standpoint, I'm not sure how much they're going to get done. They're going to try and do the next appropriations bills, but we're still trying to figure out what they're doing on the Fix Our Forest Act. That's a big one, because that goes a long way with water quality, watershed health from soup to nuts. And so we're looking to see what they might attach that bill to as they head out of town, as the holidays get closer. Another one that we're watching is the Senate Energy and Water Subcommittee markup. Hoping they're going to get to that. That might be a little bit easier to schedule on the calendar, on that short calendar, but there's just a lot more question marks out there right now than anything else. And I'm hearing some rumors, and I haven't vetted this with Don, but so it'd be interesting to hear what you think, Don. But I'm already hearing rumors of hitting, the January, what I think they passed the CR, will take us through January 30th, and they're talking about
Yes.
not making it past that and a potential another government shutdown right after the first of the year because they just can't get their act together. So I agree with you 100%, Don. This is probably the most strange Congress that I've ever seen in my 30-year career. So buckle up and hold on, but we're doing everything we can to make sure we're at the table and representing all of our clients.
No, and then Greg, I would second that. And again, it's we just keep the momentum going in the context. We're up on the Hill, pretty much every day they're in session and talking to folks. But we're all in the same boat, and unfortunately, that's I think some of the national politics have just taken over and have prevented really what used to be, or what generally are, the most bipartisan decisions in public works and water and wastewater. We've never seen this kind of, and the fights aren't over our issues really, outside of EPA funding, which came under just intense scrutiny early on with DOGE because of the implications for, using it for climate and things that the Trump administration wanted to dramatically reverse from what the Biden administration had prioritized. I thought you mentioned Prop 50. You all know probably even more than we do from the local standpoint. It's shaken up the congressional districts in California dramatically. It did pass overwhelmingly, as you all know, and I know Congressman Kiley's district would be, very much impacted. I haven't heard since last Friday, but I think the latest was, and maybe Director Saunders, I know you've, been privy to more maybe conversations from over the mountain or whatever, but the latest had him potentially running against a fellow, an incumbent Democrat, Ami Bera, who's, from the north of Sacramento area. A lot of those things are still being worked out, and we'll probably hear more when the smoke clears from tonight's vote. So we'll have to deal with who we need to, but for 26, we'd at least still have the same delegation in place. Senator Padilla, for a long time, at least the last 2 or 3 months, was evaluating running for governor. He is not. He's made a firm decision to stay in as a senior senator, and I think that's actually a really good thing. He's got a fantastic water staff. His staff around Fix Our Forests has been essential to the process, has teamed up with a Montana Republican and has done great things in moving that one forward. So we would really miss him. Senator Schiff works hard. He's got great water folks. They're very responsive. One of the drawbacks with Senator Schiff is just lack of seniority at this point. And he's quickly learning. He has a full-time ag person, a full-time water person, and a full-time environmental person. So he's certainly devoting the resources to it. So sorry if I got a little too much in the weeds, but it's not been a great year overall from a macro level. I think the district, you did so well last year, and we're continuing to push this year. And we'll continue to watch, and then we'll sharpen our knives for going back in January for the next cycle, where hopefully we can be ready to go. Next fall will be an election year again, and I'm feeling things are going to get done a lot earlier in 26 than they have been this year. So we're happy to take any questions. Again, sorry, it's not a rosy scenario, but again, we like to tell it like it is and not, paint it otherwise when it's not. So.
Thank you for your presentation. Director Saunders.
Yep, Don, can you tell us what the timeline is for the 2026 Colorado River agreements?
Director Saunders, I am not as much in the weeds. I promise to get back to you on the exact time. I know they've been given an extension for negotiation. Unfortunately, with nobody answering the phone at Interior, I've not been able to find out. So let me, if it's okay, I'd like to, give me an extension on that, and I'll get back to you, because we've just had the reports of the last 24 hours that Interior gave them the thumbs up on at least an extension, but the timeline, I don't know. Greg, have you happened to hear on that?
Director Saunders, the only thing I can add to that is that we do know, again, they're running out of time for this year to schedule these meetings and have these negotiations, given the holiday schedule coming up. The next big deadline is honestly Valentine's Day, February 14th, that they have to meet. So I wouldn't I honestly wouldn't expect a whole lot of information coming out of those negotiations until we get much beyond the first of the year, just because of the negotiations last week. From what I understand, were, I don't know if you can have negative progress, but it sure seemed like that's what
Yeah.
took place, which is incredibly unfortunate, especially since the new Assistant Secretary for Water and Science, Andrea Travnik, was part of those negotiations, and she was around the first time in the Trump administration and was involved in those negotiations. So there were, I would say, my words, some high expectations on her being part of those negotiations, and apparently that didn't pan out. So stay tuned. But really, the next deadline when it really starts to get serious is February 14th.
We'll have that on our list, though, Director Saunders, and we'll be sure to report on that as we report out on appropriations, especially as we get into December. So, and I think there's a Colorado River Users Conference. Greg, that's right after Thanksgiving.
Actually, Colorado River Users is literally the week before Christmas, I think, this year.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I thought it's the third week in December. So who knows? Maybe we'll get some interesting information from that conference.
We'll see. And again, I'll shoot out later tonight. We're 98% positive the House is going to pass the Think 10 to shut down. It's just not a done deal yet. And this year, because again, Greg, as you called it, the year of negative progress, we're never quite sure until we're sure. So I'll send out a note as soon as it happens. I know you get my early morning missives and vice versa. We're watching it 24/7. So again, thanks again for this chance. Thanks for our partnership. And
I think we have, Don, I think we have a few more questions.
Well, I had a question. I need to know which items do we need to take action on and which items do we not? Because,
None of these were action items, I said.
okay, so then we have no reason to,
Yeah, no.
okay.
But I think there was an Director.
No, I just wanted to say, thank you, gentlemen, for your report. Speaking of negative progress, you know what the opposite of that is? Congress. Thank you.
Okay.
you said it. We live it every day. So thank you. All
Question,
right.
as long as we don't get. Steve,
I want to know your what,
go ahead, Steve.
as long as it relates to the Georgetown Valley Public Utility District.
Yes. Please.
Well, they're working.
No, I know.
No.
Don and Greg, we, the American taxpayer, are sick and tired of the government wasting and abusing and the fraud with our taxpayer dollars. It's gotta get straightened out, and we can't waste our money. So you guys keep working hard and get what we need to get. No more abuse, fraud, and waste. Please, thank you. Stephen Dowd.
Thank you,
As
Steve.
a- Both of
Thank
us come,
Front yard.
both of us
Any
come
other
from your perspective, sir. So thank you. So,
Any other public comments?
What was he saying about the 3 million?
It's potentially not gonna come because of the shutdown that we had. It's very unlikely. It's still on the
It's
table. but
basically-
it's falling off.
Oh, so we're.
yeah,
not-
the small budget numbers this year are really, and again, senatorship did submit it. We're giving it our best shot, but at this point, I don't think the pie is large enough for it this year. So
Okay, so we got the 8 million from last year that we didn't
No.
get that either?
No.
That went by, right?
Because of the Doge switch over to the new administration, all of the 7 million went away and the 3 million went away.
To them.
Yeah, that's been, we've talked about that a few times. And then the only appropriation we got was from 23, which was 1.25 million.
And the word.
Oh, and a word.
and
Yeah,
we have the word is sitting there to be drawn
Yeah.
down, but not as easily as a bank account, but in terms of it's actually authorized money, not dependent upon a Doge or anything like that. So
Thank you very much for your time.
thanks again for having
Thank
us.
you.
We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Public comments.
Thank
closed.
you.
Bye.
We're up to 8B. Since there was no action to take on that one, that was an informational only, which I think we need to clarify those when they're information only and there's no action.
Said that at the very beginning.
No, I mean, on paper. I'm just asking if you put it down as information only.
It says receive, yeah, but it says receive legislative update.
and develop positions.
We don't, but there was no.
Okay, we're up to 8B.
AB, so kind of in light of some of the previous talking points from the federal advocates, the company we signed on to help us explore a solar option at the water treatment facilities and the headquarter buildings had requested a discussion with the board. Some of the potential grant funding that is available from the Inflation Reduction Act that was under the previous administration is potentially set to expire. So I'd like to have them come up. I'm gonna have a quick PowerPoint presentation that they'd like to run through, kind of explain what it means for the district and what kind of things we may need to do in the future, and then take any potential questions on the project. And I know it's good because we have a new board member who is not super familiar. So if you'll give me just a second to share the screen.
This is set up for short people.
Yeah, adjust and I guess.
That little thing.
Yeah.
Just kind of-
So this is, we have Jessica Ritter from Site Logic.
Set up question before she gets going. Oh, just a quick setup question. What action has the board taken on solar up to this point?
So we have signed on to a letter of agreement to do exploration on whether or not it is feasible to build a solar project at Auburn Lake Trails, Sweetwater Lake Treatment Plant, Walton Treatment Plant, and the headquarters building. And so some of the numbers that you're gonna see are from the 3 various projects. So they've come out and done some site assessments, they've done some preliminary analysis, they've done some return on investment, and that's all gonna be going over today.
Okay, so no commitment on solar, just on the feasibility.
And one of the other things that it was supposed to be, we don't move forward on this unless we got a certain amount of grant money before we even signed on to do anything else. That was why we stopped and they got put on hold.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a great background. I think we can probably skip through the first, I don't know, 3 or 4. This is our blanket slides. I have myself here, Taylor Boyle, who is our Director of Project Development, Eric James, who is a project developer. And then we also have Jeff Land. He's on Zoom right now. He is a financier. This is kind of a backup to the backup plan, right? And we're gonna go into the IRA tax credits that are gonna be sunsetting and going away in 2026. But we, at the request of Nick and staff, we did want to come up with a financing option for you guys to consider and kind of see. Is this something that we want to use now? Is this something that we want to use as a bridge while we wait for other money to come in so we don't lose these tax credits, etc. But we'll get into it as we go. And I'll try to keep this as brief as possible because nobody likes long presentations. We'll get right to the meat and potatoes. So next slide, please, Nick. This is just who we are. We're one of the nation's largest privately held energy services companies, and we work all across the United States, but a primary focus in California, where this is a very green state. There's a lot of incentives here, and we pay the highest cost for utilities, electricity in the United States. So projects of this nature are definitely needed here in the state of California. Go to the next slide, please. Just a few of our current clients. I mean, we can't fit them all on a page, but these are just a few of my clients here in California. Next slide, please. Okay, right into your project. So we have been working diligently with both Nick and Adam. We've gone through umpteenth number of variable types of sizes and percentage of offsets. And there's where do we put the solar and how good it's been very complicated. But these sites that we're going to show you here have been thoroughly vetted by staff on multiple levels and is kind of the final. So if you have questions about like, can we move it here? Can we move it there? I promise you those have been asked and answered. This is the spot. These are the spots that are most ideal for the solar. So what you're looking at here at Sweetwater is a ground mounted system. So it's only a few feet off the ground. It's definitely one of the cheaper ways to build this solar project. There's a lot of panels here. There's 300 kilowatts of solar here. It is offsetting 80% of your electric bill, and there is a battery as well. This battery is not to be used to back up the facility. You don't need that. You have generators for that purpose. We're simply playing the utility. That's what we're doing. So we're using it for economic purposes. PG&E made changes to their rate scheduling, their net metering scheduling from NEM 2 to NEM 3. Under NEM 2, PG&E acted as your battery, right? Extra overproduced kilowatt hours are stored in the grid like a battery, but NEM 3 says no more of that. So if you want to be able to store and use overproduced kilowatt hours, you have to store them yourselves, hence the battery. So hopefully that answers why we have a battery with this project. But again, not to be used to back up your facility. You don't need that.
Do you want to clarify that 80% is of your total usage?
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, this is Walton. So this is actually a carport structure. So vehicles could be parked under here. We were a little bit space constrained here. And if I'm being honest, this is probably the least favorite of all the sites for me personally because of the payback. The usage profile here versus the cost to build it. I don't love it. And we'll get into why that when we go into the financials later, and it'll be kind of obvious, right? But we wanted to explore this as an option because you guys deserve to have all the options, and then you guys get to make that final determination later. This is a 60% offset of your usage here. Again, 48.8 kilowatt size, and there is also a battery here. But again, this is just for economic purposes, not to back up your facility. Next slide, please. All right, and then here we are at the district office. So you have a bit of usage here, but this is also something that Nick and Adam had both brought up and said, well, were we going to do anything here? The answer is, yeah, we can, absolutely. So this is a small system size, about 27.5 kilowatts. I should also mention that there's some EV chargers that would go in here as well that the public can use. And then there will be some in the back for the district to use if you ever decide to switch over to EV fleet vehicles. I know not every fleet vehicle can be EV because of the type of work that you do, and the remote location that you're in could actually be dangerous for some EVs. But that is also included in this program. Is I believe how many EV chargers do we have here? I believe it's noted on the cash list.
It was one.
Yeah, here.
There should be one in the front, one in the back, and then one in each of the water treatment plants.
Yes, thank you. So we have one dual port EV charger at Sweetwater and 3 dual port EV chargers here at the district office. And I believe that one in the front, 2 in the back.
I think we talked about possibly switching
that. Yeah.
There may be a grant opportunity for doing public facing chargers here out in Oakland.
Thank you, Eric. And Eric is correct. So the grant money that's available for the EV chargers, there's some strings attached, and those strings are the public needs to be able to use these chargers if you want to benefit. The good thing with these EV chargers is that they're actually revenue generators. So you guys get to set the cost for cars to plug in and essentially buy your power. So it is a revenue generator. I wouldn't say you're going to make tens of thousands of dollars a year on it, but it will certainly pay for itself over the life of the EV chargers. And I don't think there are a lot of EV charging stations in this area. I could be wrong, but this might be something that's also helpful for your community. So there we go. Next slide, please. We're going to get right into the financials. Okay, so we have different summary options here. These are the cash options. And when I mean cash, I mean literally cash purchased. I understand there may be some PG&E money that will be coming in from wherever lawsuit, I don't know. But that could be a portion of the cash. So anyways, we were asked to put together cash options. These definitely do pencil out fairly well, but you'll see that I have a little star by the 2 sites cash. That's the one I like the best. That's the combination of projects that if I was sitting in your chair, I would say, okay, this has the best payback. This makes the most sense. I like this one the most. And you can see that it's Sweetwater and it's district office. I don't like Walton. I don't like the paybacks on Walton. It just is what it is. And sometimes that happens in our industry where we really want solar at a site, but it just doesn't pencil out. And Walton seems to be that case. Now, when you bundle them all together, okay, it makes sense, but I would definitely never do Walton on its own. It will not pay back for itself. So bundled as a complete 3-site project, Walton is okay, but it's only okay because these other 2 sites are pulling it up, if that makes sense financially. So in all of these, you've got the project cost, the IRA reimbursement, that's the Inflation Reduction Act. That is what's going away. We'll kind of get into the details of that later in the presentation. And this is money that you're going to be receiving once your project has completed construction. So it's coming from the federal government. they want proof that you've done this. So, in the year after the project has completed construction, actually, you know what, I take that back because we had another client who was able to file for their IRA in the same year that they went online. But originally the language says in this bill was said, in the year following the completion of your project, you can apply for this. But that's kind of been debunked more recently. So, but that money comes in after the project has been completed. And so we want to show you what the cost of the project is after the IRA reimbursement, because you can kind of deduct that from the total project cost. And then we've got your 30-year net savings. That's cash in, cash out, right? So you're investing this much money. This is how long it takes for it to pay back. And we've got all of the cash flows as well. Were those attached to the board packets?
No, just.
Okay, just the summary is fantastic. So we can go over the individual cash flow scenarios as well, but this is the gist of it. These are the most important numbers. Any questions? Am I allowed to ask questions of the board? Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions on the financials here or the sites so far? Yes.
You were talking, you're putting EV, the proposal is EV. 3 here, 1 at Walton and 1 at Sweetwater. Is that correct?
No, so it's 1 at Sweetwater and 3 at the district office.
Okay.
I don't believe we have any at Walton.
And one other thing to note that these are all dual port chargers, so,
Two plugs.
yeah, so one station with 2 plugs.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Well, do they make pontoon, where they can float out in the water?
We do. We have a.
'Cause we got water, I mean.
You do, and Nick actually asked about that, so did Adam early on. We can build floating solar products, but it won't work at your sites because you have to dredge. So you don't want to put floating solar on any body of water that you have to dredge or clear out, because the cost of moving that solar out of the way is astronomical. Once it's in there, you don't want to mess with it. But we do have floating solar projects. I have one in construction up in Forestville, Sonoma County right now going in, but that is a clean wastewater basin, treated, and that water is a lined pond. They never have to dredge it. It was kind of the perfect scenario, but they had no other space. So,
Okay,
Great
thank you. They can go on.
thank you. Any other questions from the board with regards to the financials? Okay, great. So this is the summary of finance options. Again, this is the backup plan. From what we understand, there could be cash, or there is cash that could be contributed to this project. But for any reason, if the board decides, hey, we don't want to let go of this cash to invest in this solar, we want to look at other options. There are other options for financing, absolutely. Energy project financing is something that is in high demand. You know, most of our projects are financed. Not a lot of our customers have upfront cash capital to be paying towards these projects. So we did put together kind of a rough. We in conjunction with our financial partner, Jeff Land at Oppenheimer, put together some preliminary financed scenarios. And if these interest the board, then my recommendation would be, okay, we're moving on to a finance scenario. Let's really dig deep. Let's reanalyze this. Let's actually start talking to some banks, right? So these are preliminary financial numbers. And you can see, obviously, when you're financing this, there's a cost to borrowing money. So your 30-year net savings does go down significantly. Any questions on the finance scenario? Okay, so then here we have just our performance validation. So each one of our projects comes with a performance guarantee. So if we say your solar is going to produce X amount of kilowatt hours per year, we are on the hook for that. If we fail or if we fall short of that, we are required to write you a check for the difference. So it is really important for companies like ours to provide this sort of guarantee. When we know that you're using taxpayer dollars to fund these projects, you need some sort of guarantee that those savings are going to be there, and that if they're not, somebody is going to make up that difference. So this is all included in our project is our operation and maintenance of these solar arrays. So we will operate and maintain them on behalf of the district. There is a cost to that. And then we also have our performance validation or our guarantee. And then it comes with this cool dashboard as well that is online interactive dashboards that a lot of our customers decide to put on their actual board, their website, so that the taxpayers can see these are how our tax dollars were invested. This solar is producing, and this is how much we're saving. And you can go back several years and see, what was I paying at this site before the solar? then you can see what you're paying at the site after solar. So it's really black and white, and we make it very easy so everybody can understand. Okay, Inflation Reduction Act timeline. That's why we're here today, in November, so close to the holidays. Nobody likes to travel, but this is going away. It is sunsetting, through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. This, along with many other things, are kind of sunsetting or going away. Everybody has their own individual feelings about that. But this is something that is important for the board to consider, because that money that we're showing on those financial performance will be going away. So we kind of go through all of the information here. In order to secure this investment tax credit, the district does need to invest 15% so that your materials can be procured, right? That's where we're at right now. So we're not here saying, okay, pay us $4 million today, or whatever scenario you decide to choose. It's if you want to secure these several $100,000s in federal reimbursement, then you need to invest in your materials at least 15% of the total project. And so we have that kind of lined out for you guys as well, per scenario, what that 15%, well, let's call it a deposit, would look like. And of course, that's safe harbor deadline as well. So there are foreign entities of concern. These kind of things kick in, and unfortunately, a lot of our solar panels and batteries are not manufactured in the United States. Parts and components of them come from overseas. So this FEOC restrictions does apply to a lot of clean energy equipment. So we want to beat that as well. Okay. So everything that I just mentioned, right? What is needed from the district to sign procurement contracts by December 15th? That gives our team enough time to procure the materials before December 31st on your behalf. Okay. And this is just our roadmap to efficiency. This is where we're at in your project. And we've been working on this for, gosh, Nick, how long has it been? Over a year, well over a year. Kind of going back and forth. I mean, we're not here to rush anything. We've been here for a while. We haven't been in front of you guys too often, but that's because your staff handles almost everything on your behalf. And they've been doing a very good job of that. So this is where we're at right now. We have selected your final scopes of work. We're here to basically look for guidance from the board on how to proceed.
So when was the last time you were here giving a presentation?
Was it? I think I was still pregnant. I think it was March. I was, yes. My daughter's 5 months old now. It was snowing. Yes, well, maybe, yeah, it was cold.
Just earlier this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah, it was early, I think it's March. I want to say March.
The only reason this is coming back at this time is because of the potential loss of the funding. Jessica and her team let us know that this was coming, and I wanted to put this toward the board. So there's actually no decision that needs to be made today. What we're looking today is to ask lots of questions, to understand the project, and to give direction for staff. If we want to continue seeking this, we can bring it back at the next board meeting to have any kind of cost that they're, whatever we can talk about it at that time, but just determining what project to go with at that time. And then we would have to make a decision on how much of a deposit to make so that they could bring in the materials for us. So like I said, today is not any kind of decision-making process. It's more for the 5 or 4 of you at this time to discuss the project, to understand the project, and to give direction to staff as to whether or not to bring this back in December.
But don't you need a commitment before our next meeting?
No, the next meeting is on the 10th.
Yeah, that's when we would be asking for the commitment. Because
But I would say, in order for you to make that commitment on the 10th, the staff needs to know whether what they're bringing back to you on the 10th.
Yeah, this is a really, we want you all to understand and ask lots of questions.
Can you go back to slide 9? Maybe we can pause it on slide 9.
Dr. Saunders?
Let's go into slide 9 first.
So you can kind of see, I've got,
Slide
go back one more. Yeah, so at the last bullet in each one of the boxes is the deposit required to secure the IRA. In case that wasn't really apparent when I was going through it quickly, that's what we're looking at. Those numbers for the one site, 416K, for the 2 sites, 526, and for the 3 sites, 8644. So that, when we come back in December, if you want us to come back in December when we do, those are the 3 really important numbers to consider right now cost.
And through the process, staff has been working with SiteLogic, and we are probably in the same agreement that the 2-site plan would be the most advantageous for the district. It's the cheapest with the most amount of net savings. If you notice, kind of changes the net savings when you add the third site. So it, like was stated, it's good to have it, but it really doesn't serve a lot of purpose. So that's, we'd need to come up with about $526,000 at the next board meeting to put this deposit down. And so those are the kinds of things that we need to discuss today to bring back in December.
Director Saunders?
Yeah, and I was just saying the deposit required is the same for the cash option and the finance option. And
And that's the 526.
Correct.
Director McDonald?
What's the potential cost to delay or postpone into next year? What does it cost us?
Yeah, it could potentially,
I just wanna say, I don't really think we know completely yet, because the foreign entity of concern is like the main issue that we're dealing with, that will be the main change in next year. So they haven't fully defined what that looks like next year, so it could be that the panels are more expensive. It could be that we can't get panels. We probably have some workarounds with some alternatives, but it's really an unknown right now, and that's our biggest concern. We don't wanna promise anything that we won't be able to deliver on.
thank you. It is our job to present you with all the options, good, bad, ugly, and that's what we know so far.
And I think the other concern is that 800, if we went with, say, the two site option, you have the potential to lose the 856,000. I'm gonna call it a grant. It's not really a grant. It's a tax incentive, but we don't pay taxes, so they just give you a check back after the project's been done. So you pay for the whole project, and then they basically reimburse you that amount of money. And if we don't do anything, then we have the potential to lose up. And I'm gonna say the potential because we don't know exactly.
Yeah, that's the risk.
That is the risk.
And then once you make this deposit, because of the project parameters, you'll be able to, pay for a certain percentage of your project. And the way we can do that is by securing materials. Once you do that, you'll have 4 years to get the project online. So you would have until the end of 2028 to receive permission to operate from the utility on these projects to get the full tax credit, which that timeline, you have a lot more time there to actually install the project to be able to get the full tax credit.
Director Fisher?
So, well, several questions. First, realistically, what kind of cash would we have available to put into this? Would there be any way to really do this by cash, or would we be set up for financing? Have to.
Do we have options that we explored in the past?
For cash, so possibly.
And we put this project on hold until that cash was to come in. And that's what we had put it on hold for, until we knew we had the money to be able to move forward with this project.
And that cash has or does not?
So,
Parts? Maybe. Okay, so that's an open question.
Yes.
Okay. What am I missing between the site 1 and site 2? So you're advocating the two site, but I'm seeing in site 1 a larger 30-year net savings for a smaller investment. So
Yeah, I mean, site 1 being Sweetwater, that's your highest user, so you're gonna have the best payback. The district office site is not as high of a user, so you don't have as great of a payback scenario there. So when you blend the savings of the two projects, you'll see your 30-year net goes down because you've got an influx of the cost for the district office site.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
so what was our end result on our last board meeting where we pushed this back until we received the funding? It was up to 3 years, wasn't it?
Correct. The reason, and like I say, the only reason this is back at this point is because something has changed in the finance portion of this, where a portion of the grant that was originally discussed could go away. So that's why this has come back. And like was stated, you can make this deposit and still have 4 years to finalize the project. Actually, that's actually 3 years, I think, it's not 4 years. But you have 3 years to then finalize the project. So it doesn't necessarily stop the timeline. It just kind of starts a different timeline.
But then what happens if if we don't secure the funding for the project to continue?
It's basically like, once you secure those materials, you're doing the project. It's only a matter of time, because if not, that would be a serious waste of money.
Yeah,
And
that's why we
what
put it
I was
on
gonna
pause
say-
the last time.
What I was gonna say was, we call it a deposit, but this is not a deposit.
Yeah, you're
It's-
actually.
You're
ordering-
purchasing material.
Yes, yes,
You're the
yes,
happy owner of a whole bunch of
It's a
solar.
commitment.
yes.
The way that we would likely structure it, with like the government code that we can utilize for this is, we would set up a contract with like a work order for procurement and a work order for, implementation. And, so you would just execute the work order for procurement of the materials.
Right,
And then when you had the funding available, that's when you would execute work order 2 for the implementation.
but our problem was, we didn't have the funding
Right.
to be able to secure it until we were gonna receive money, and now we don't know if that's gonna happen.
Which is,
Director Saunders,
There, just to answer that question, that was the other reason why we we did some exploration of a finance option. So if we have to go that route, something happens, we don't get any funding ever, we can utilize a loan payment to pay this, to finish this project.
And I will just say, what the board directed in terms of that 3-year lead up time, that has not changed. That is still on the table. That's another option. The board could say, we are not interested in getting the Inflation Reduction Act credit or reimbursement.
Yeah.
Cause we don't wanna commit that initial deposit, cause it's at risk. So I mean, that's also an option too.
right, that's where I was kind of going with this, because we had made a decision earlier this year. To put it on hold until that funding came through, so we would have money. Because unless I'm confused, we don't have that kind of money sitting around, or we're gonna have to pull it from something else. Director Saunders,
Yeah, we would have to pull it from a CIP project. This happens every time we do solar, because solar in California is also tied to the people that provide electricity. And it's like, I would say, for you geeks out there, Lando Calrissian and the Empire Strikes Back, this deal keeps getting worse and worse. So every time we started with net metering, the first time we were trying to do solar, we were getting full grid back. The next time it was like 70–80%. Now it's nothing. So this is why it came back, because of the decreasing act. So
Yeah.
we can, I think what we can decide on now is the site, if we're gonna move forward, 1 site or 2 site. It looks like the 3 site isn't the best one to go with. And before the next meeting, we would know one of the possibilities of money coming in. And then the big thing would be, because we know we need solar. I mean, we need the offset.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we don't want to put any more extra burden on our customers. And we just did our cost of service, so we want to make sure it matches our cost of service. So that's one of the big things, to make sure that we're not going outside of bounds and putting the work that we need to do that is in the CIP now out of priority. So those are the things that we're looking at. But for me, I would say I like site 2. And by that next meeting, because of there are things that occur in between that time that make that a possibility, we can discuss that then if we want to go forward or not with looking money around.
sorry,
And I also want to know if we wanted when's the next finance committee meeting?
November 19th, maybe?
If we can bring that to them to look at
Bring this.
monetary options, if it's a possibility, yeah, to see what some of the proposals are.
Let's talk offline, because I'm not sure exactly what you're meaning by monetary.
Well, it's 565, so what are the potentials for us to?
565.
565, 525, 526, all right.
So we have that available. We could pull that out of one of the investment accounts if we needed to do that, which is where any kind of CIP would come from anyhow. And this is in the CIP already as a project. So it's not like we would have to rewrite the budget or the CIP or anything. This is already something that we've figured on in the future.
Director McDonald,
Couple of questions. Project cost for site 2 is about 800,000 more than 1, but the 30-year savings is only $200,000 less. So why would we spend $800,000 more for a project where the savings is only 200,000?
Yeah, that's a great question. Who wants to take it?
So I can tell you that there are, you're kind of absorbing, you're taking the Sweetwater site, which has like Jessica said, it has the best simple payback.
Yeah.
And we're taking some of the savings of that to do some of the other things like the EV chargers are a good example, some of the EV charger infrastructure. It's not an energy saver, it's a potential revenue generator. So you're kind of taking the additional savings from one site to help offset some of the savings from the other one. So that's why you're seeing kind of skewed numbers there with the second site,
Yeah.
but you're getting some additional scope that are not directly related to energy savings.
So, okay, so we're spending $600,000 more there to net a $200,000 savings at the end of 30 years. Okay, and you're saying there's offsets in there that we don't see right now.
Well, there's a couple other things that we can do. So there are other grants to get the front facing EV chargers. So El Dorado County will pay, I think it's 17,000 per charger.
Yeah, per station.
So per station, so that's an extra 35. And then we can also utilize those ones in the front. We can make them almost like a gas station. So say somebody wants to come here and they want to charge their car while they're visiting Stumpy or they're doing whatever they're doing here, they can stop, they can plug their car in for a few minutes. They can pay for the pleasure and then they can move on.
Okay.
Another thing I would like to mention, I don't think we mentioned, was the utility escalation percentage that we've been using in these cash flows. So we're only estimating a 6% utility escalation year over year, and that is very conservative. As we know, PG&E raises their rates much higher than 6%. So, but we're a very conservative company. We always want to present you with the most conservative numbers, but it's also because we have to back up these numbers physically, like literally. So when we say we're going to save over the 30-year net, we are only escalating 6% utility escalation. So in your case, if PG&E, after that first year of solar, if PG&E raises their rates for 12%, well, your annual savings just doubled, right? So the value of your solar produced kilowatts go up as much as PG&E raises their rates, right? So we want to mention that as well. I think it's very important to note that.
Yeah, that's true. With PG&E rates are going up about 18% a year,
So much.
right?
It's been greater in the past, it's been lower in the past, but we like 6% as a very, very conservative, again, because we have to back up those numbers.
That was my other question. See, here I was just comparing apples to apples on sites,
Right.
not the time, and I didn't even include the time value of money.
Oh, gosh. Yeah,
Right.
yes, absolutely.
So that
That's something
30,
we call cost of delay, right?
Right.
In our industry.
right, and what, do we have an idea of what fraction might be covered by grants, or is this all in the CIP?
So we would have to pay the 2.9, say we went with this two site option, the 2.898.
Okay,
That would be the district's cost. So we would outlay the 3.7 and then we would get the 856,000 back.
Right, and then if you were to get the grant from the EV chargers, that is not included in here, so that would just be like a $37,000 bonus, I guess.
and if we weren't spending money on this project, we'd spend it on something else, because the time value of money, if you were to put $4 million into a 3% investment, you get $5 million. So I'm just,
So I'll
look
look
at all the
at it
moving
if you look
pieces.
slightly different.
Yeah.
If you don't pay this, if you don't spend the money on this project, you're paying the money to PG&E to power the water treatment plant,
Yeah.
which we're already paying about $250,000 a year to power the Sweetwater treatment plant. So that gets offset. So you don't have that charge. I mean, obviously you still have some charge because it's not full 100% offset, but you don't pay the 250,000 plus whatever escalation you have on the 6, 12, 18. My house was 19.5%. So
Yeah, well, it was really.
This infrastructure that we're putting in, it really can be expanded if you wanted, right? Like this is kind of what we have right now based on, funding and availabilities, but let's say technology improves, you could potentially in the future, if grants become available, try and reduce even more from PG&E and become more like self-reliant. So it's kind of like a stepping stone, I think, to a broader vision of that.
Thank you, Taylor. That's great.
So I have a couple more questions that you had to
I had a couple of you, but I don't need to step in front of you. I just wanted you to know I was here. You know, it's peripheral vision.
I try to
Go
make
right.
sure I turn around so I can see you.
Thank you.
That's why we set up this way now. Go ahead.
Had a few more questions. I'm looking at your project pro forma cash flow and I appreciate. So I'm looking at the columns for battery O&M and then solar O&M. And it looks like you've got some spikes. So we're talking about a 30-year commitment.
Yes.
And you've got some spikes. I just wanted you to talk about what went into those O&M numbers.
Yes.
So it looks like batteries probably get replaced around year 15, at least from that spike, and it looks like you're anticipating maybe some panel replacement during that 30 years. Tell me about like, how, so I get, let me ask my next question. So would we be in a contract with you for 30 years and you would be on the hook for whatever these costs? Or are these estimates that we would be on the hook for at the time they came up?
So it's the latter, right? When we put together our cash flows, we want to show true cost of ownership, which means
Right.
maintenance, right?
Yeah,
Everything.
I appreciate you put some healthy numbers in
Absolutely.
there. Yeah.
So in the battery O&M column, what you're seeing at that spike is the cells will need to be replaced, not the entire battery, but just its components, right? Its guts, if you will. Those should be replaced at around year 15, but that could stretch too. I mean, it's really just based on the battery's performance, but that's why we come back every year and we test them and we make sure they're doing okay. And then of course, when you're looking at the solar O&M, the first thing that dies in a solar array is the inverters. So that's what you're looking at is inverter replacement around year 15-ish. But again, those are costs of the district because you own these arrays, right? These are your assets. So when they break down, as long as it's not manufactured, if it's a manufacturer defect, of course, your panels are warranted for 25 years. Is it 25 or 30?
They're warranted for 25, but we're seeing panels last 30+ years. Of course, they degrade, but
What about 1% a year?
so the manufacturers now actually with the latest panels are warranting 0.4% degradation year over year. In our portfolios, we're seeing less than that.
You
We
factor that
manage
in.
a lot of.
We do,
O&M assets.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, degradation value is always factored into our cash flows as well. And so if you want the performance guarantee, if you want our performance guarantee, then we have to be the company to maintain the arrays for obvious reasons, right? If they're not maintained, if the panels aren't washed, if the inverter goes down and nobody fixes it, we certainly can't be responsible for the drop in production. If you have, ADC company over here trying to maintain it, we can't be liable for their lack of maintenance potential. So yes, our performance guarantee comes with our O&M agreement, and those are the costs of our O&M agreement, right? So for the batteries would be $2,700 a year. For the solar O&M service and energy dashboard is about $11,800 per year, and that does escalate 3% annually with general
I
inflation.
do want to point out in this cash flow, we do have some costs for the battery, that if you notice, the battery costs are not the same year over year. That is because some years the warranties, depending on which battery manufacturer, each site I think has different ones based on size and scale. They require certain special inspections, so we're trying to budget that in here as well. So you have the overall cost of, like Jessica mentioned, ownership.
Are there inverters on each panel or?
No,
Okay.
no, we don't do micro inverters anymore. There's better ones. String inverters, yep.
We're still watching. We have more.
Yeah, one more. So it'd probably be a better question for Nick, but what kind of demand do you think we would have for EV chargers?
Next item is actually to purchase a potential EV vehicle for the district. So that's one potential demand. In the future, the reason why we are going to put one at Sweetwater is we are looking to convert the operators to a EV truck, some sort of where they're going just back and forth. They can park it at the office, they can charge it while they're working in the future. So those are kind of the demand for the EV chargers. And then the front facing ones were to benefit the community and potential even low revenue generation.
So, you done?
I am, thank you.
Okay, the question I had on those EV charging stations, on like Sweetwater, that would be probably more advantageous to be sitting outside so we could generate some funds.
No,
No.
not that one. There's no area for it to be located outside the gate that is safe for somebody to charge, because there's no parking lot there for the public.
True.
So we can't put one there. That would be strictly for a district vehicle that is getting parked there to be charged.
Or if district employees as well have an electric vehicle and they want to charge, no, you could either offer that free of charge to your employee as an employee benefit, or you could have the employee pay. Sometimes you can have a special code or a card that's a reduced rate, so it could be used for many options, but I just wanted to pop that in your head as a potential employee benefit. I don't know how many of your employees have EVs here, but
And then the other question I have on the solar system that's here, the work building out there, there's a lot of big equipment that's uses a high amount of electricity.
Yeah, it was all considered. We did have the engineers out here. They looked at the whole panel. They looked at all of we even have a special high leg electrical circuit here. So they looked at all of that to ensure that the solar was going to be adequate.
So it's gonna power 3 buildings.
it is going to help offset some of the costs, of course, but we can't do
Right.
100% offset
We
anymore.
don't have any,
That doesn't make
Look, that's
financial
one out
sense.
farther
there's
here.
very little electricity in that. It's just lights. There's no equipment on that one. It's just for storage.
Okay. Director Saunders, did you have another question?
Yeah, I was just gonna add on to Director Fisher's question that we also remember there's the car policy rules, so you have to change some of our fleets to electric vehicles, so we need EV chargers eventually as well, so that's something that we sort of coming
Dr.
forward.
Saunders
Ish,
brings up a very good
yes,
point.
ish, we're still dealing with that.
So
Maybe.
the EV chargers,
Maybe.
the EV chargers is one way to show the state like, hey, we are taking steps towards trying to, we're trying to respond to your mandate. But if you're not going to give us funding to do that, like, we're doing what we can essentially. So it is a good first step. We do have several customers who are like, come get us, right? Like, we're never gonna do it. Like Mono County, for example, that county, you can't have EV fleet vehicles. Your employees will die the next time there's 60 feet of snow and their vehicle won't start, right? Like, so there are gonna be some exceptions. I'm not sure if this district will fall within that
We do.
exemption, but okay,
We do.
perfect. But anyways, with the state of California, you're never exactly sure. It is a good first step, though.
I'll address that question to say, there are options for us to replace vehicles with like vehicles that we have now. However, when you are replacing certain style vehicles, we also don't want to rock the boat to make sure that we're not having any microscopes on us. So we can use the exemptions, but we don't want to abuse the exemptions.
Any other questions of the board? Public comment?
Yeah, how come we didn't get the whole packet? I didn't get this chart,
What chart?
not in the packet, the ones that the director's got, which was showing it's not on there. Whatever that chart is.
This is in the presentation. This was in the packet.
Before.
We got all the information just in a different form, an enlarged form, I thought. in the
No,
packet.
those charts that she has in her hand.
flows, I think.
Yeah.
Cash flow, is that put in the packet?
Yeah.
The packet is.
And for those cards.
Okay, my question basically is, I think you need to look at the 30-year savings. Is this the breakdown of what that 30-year savings is? Okay, that was my question. How did you calculate? Oh, yes, yeah, all the math is there in the cash flow. So did you subtract what they were paying for PG&E? You did 6% a year. What else was included? Yeah, so we take in. It's okay, okay. So what we do is we take into consideration, you'll see it kind of on the bottom line, we have all the inputs, right? One. Well, whichever one you want. So there's 3.
I'll go on
for
the
cash
two,
option.
on the 2.
And then there's 3 options for the finance, right? So we have the 1 site, 2 sites, and 3 sites. All 3 in cash option, all 3 in finance. Yep, but on every one of the cash flows, you have the inputs at the very bottom left. And it shows you, right, what's the base project cost? Then we're also including soft costs, right? 2% there. Which is what? That's kind of special inspection fees, other type of permitting fees, other costs that the district would bear as a part of a construction project. And then we also, on top of that, have 175 grand, roughly 5% of whichever project. You're looking at. Yep, Oh, for the two sites, perfect, yeah, so we've got 175,000, that's 5% contingency, that contingency is 249. Oh, then I'm not sure which one you're looking at, I'm looking at the two sites. Oh, yeah, two sites cash. We've got 175,500. So, and that is district control contingency, what ifs, if you end up not having to use that, which is always the goal, then that's just reduced from the overall project cost, but it is district controlled. Then we have the IVER contribution, which is 25.5% of the total project value. You do the utility escalation at 6%, that's on all the scenarios. O&M maintenance escalation.
And how much is the annual if you do the repair and maintenance per year?
Yeah, so that you'll see up in the top, these red columns, everything in the red column should be considered outgoing money, right? So it's the cost of the project, the cost of the operation and maintenance for the solar and the battery.
Are all those costs, just to be clear, all those costs are calculated into the total project cost, correct?
Correct.
So some of this is
Oh, wait,
gonna
no,
be,
sorry, I'm so sorry.
are they,
If you're asking me if the battery O&M and the solar O&M is is it
that's
included? in the
actually, that's
cost?
over and above the 3.7, say?
It is, that is a separate cost that the district would bear.
And what is that?
So for the solar on an annual basis is 11.8, so 11,800, escalating 3% every year. And for the batteries, it's first year is 2,700, but it also kind of varies, as Taylor mentioned, based on battery manufacturer warranties. Sometimes they need special inspections some years, other years they don't. So the battery is more variable. The solar O&M is pretty flat, just escalating 3%. But those numbers are not included in the total project cost. Total project cost is cost to build the project. These are your ongoing maintenance costs, so to speak.
Okay, still finished. And then what happens if you go out of business? Who takes over?
Oh,
Cause
gosh.
you know, Sears and Ward are gone, or anyway.
Yeah, so if we go out of business, there's a lot of companies that can do operation and maintenance. We're not the only ESCO in the nation. We're one of the 13.
Well, yeah, for
right?
that, but what about the guarantee for the project?
Well,
It's only as good as your company is.
yeah, our guarantee would be only for as long as our company is in business, of
And
course.
then you replace the solar panels and.
No,
Not
so
replace, but repair.
we would make repairs if repairs were needed.
And they would cost us or
Yes.
cost you.
No, it's like if you buy a car, right? If you buy a car, does the dealership pay for your new tires? No,
Okay.
right? Like that's a cost of.
So there isn't a real warranty.
No, there's a warranty for the solar panels.
Okay.
So if the panels are damaged outside of the warranty,
Oh,
the
yeah.
manufacturer would cover the replacement, and our team would help process that for you.
But if a tree falls on it, that's an act of nature or something.
And that's where your insurance policy would cover it because it's an asset.
And a lot of times, because we have to order these assets by the pallet and pick it up on the facility, we will leave extra panels for you on site.
Yeah.
I get more details.
And then we got this going on too. So can we get control of the meeting again?
So to me, I just think you guys need more.
No, I mean, it starts
No.
with having public members.
No,
who
because
don't-
I had this going on and this
It doesn't
going
matter.
on, and it was
It
like.
doesn't matter, we should not have members of the
I'm-
public.
I'm-
I am legal counsel, I can speak with the GM about district related business. I'm sorry, it was distracting, but members of the public are not entitled.
Right,
to
and that's
privileges
what
of
I'm,
the board.
I was stopping,
Yeah.
so.
So good questions though about warranties and what's covered and what's not covered, because if I'm sitting in your shoes, I want to know what is the true cost of owning this project over the next 30 years, which is its useful life. So I think we do a really good job of conservatively showing you what all those costs will be. We know what the hard costs are for the solar O&M. We know that the panels have a 30-year manufacturer warranty. We like to use Canadian Solar because that company's been around a very, very long time. And they have a wonderful warranty. So when you go to RME anything, they're very good at honoring that. So we like that. Our customers like that. Jeff, are you still on? Jeff is, okay. So I had Jeff Land in here kind of sitting at the fly on the wall, in case the directors had any questions about the funding options, the financing options, I would say. If it comes down to like, hey, we really just don't have this 3 or 4 million, whichever project you decide, Jeff and his financing team can look at very interesting solutions for you. So you could do like a bridge financing solution where you're only taking out a loan for a couple of years until another cash influx comes available, then you can pay it down very quickly. Or you could do a full-on 30-year loan, or sorry, 20-year loan. It's up to you guys, but we can get very creative with financing if that's the path that you want to move forward. So take the slides with the financing options with a grain of salt. That's just one financing option scenario, and there's literally dozens that we could entertain on your behalf, so. Jeff, I don't know if you had anything more to add to that.
No, but thank you all for allowing us to participate today. Just to clarify, with regard to the financing options, we do have the ability to structure, a 20-year financing term, but allow for what's called an early redemption. We could do it as early as 2 years. We're working on a couple transactions like that, just like that, where there's an expectation for a couple school districts that they think they're going to get some state money for their projects, but they needed to get moving on construction. So we provided them with a 20-year financing term and a 2-year, after 2 years, they're able to prepay it with no penalty. So it's something that we can explore for the district if that's the path we want to pursue. Thank you.
Okay, public comments closed. What is the pleasure of the board?
It was the decision I thought.
Well, the decision is would you like us to come back in December for a potential approval of landing these materials? So if you guys, I think I was just gonna go on consensus, if that's okay with legal counsel. Do we want to
As
hear
long
this?
as you get clear direction. I
Do
don't care if it's a motion, consensus. What I don't want is to come back in December and we're not clear on what.
So there's two things that need to come forward. One, are we moving this towards the finance committee to look at during their next meeting? I want a motion and make a determination, we're gonna do that or not do that.
There's a meeting before.
And there's time.
November,
It will generally be, would you guys be able to come to the finance committee meeting on November 19th? You could just do Zoom, I think, for that.
And
This 19th.
and that would just be looking
Is
at
it 19th?
how we move the money around in
Yes.
investment. Yes,
yeah,
correct.
that was what we had
Maybe
discussed.
you're-
I'd be happy to hear their overall opinion on the viability.
So,
Yeah, so that would be part of the motion. Yes, that's.
so part of I'm gonna make it two, just so we get it clarity. We're gonna move it, I need a motion. It's gonna be moved to the finance committee to be looked for financial means to be able to deal with that. And I'm not sure how much we need, the presentation to come back. Because all this information should go forward. So if I could get a motion to do that.
A motion that this presentation contents move to the finance committee to be looked at for financial viability and technical options for movement of money.
Financing options.
Financing
All
options,
finance,
yes.
That was the motion.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Step two. I need a motion on, how we're going to, what our direction is once we get into December and the December meeting.
If I can offer one piece of information, we will have additional information at the December meeting in regards to potential cash payment options. We do have some meetings coming up to discuss those cash options. And I can give a update to the board at that time. So we will have a clearer understanding. It may not be crystal clear yet, but at least hopefully we won't be looking through muddy water.
Yeah, I would say that we would bring it back to discuss options in December. And it would be either yay or nay, depending on what we get to, but we would discuss those options.
With input from the clarify finance committee, the 1 and 2 site options.
Do we need to do that now?
If I were to recommend, you could probably throw out the third site option. It really doesn't pencil. But we can always bring it back as one of the options just in case something else comes out favorably.
Right.
I will probably give you, I don't know if I could say this out loud, but I will say the staff recommendation will probably be the 2 site option. So that would be the general move forward from staff's perspective, and then the board, I will leave the other 2 options available for the board in case those options are viable as well.
All right, so yeah, we can bring back all 3 options, I know, and then we could bring in, CARB goes to 2030 or 2035, and if Adam has any potential differences with any tax actions we may need to do with Walton that might require. I could always brought up that.
I have a motion on the floor.
Second.
On,
I have a question though. I just want to clarify.
okay.
Maybe you can answer this, Jessica. If they come back in December and they say we're gonna do just hypothetically cash the two site option, is that specific enough for you?
It is, but the reason I stood back up is, you know, had a really good complaint. So even though, it's okay, let's run through a couple of hypotheticals. There's finance committee meeting, what did you say, on the 19th of this month? That's next week?
20, we are
20th.
wrong.
Oh, it's Thursday, the 20th, okay. So if the finance committee says, yeah, you know, we're gonna do this, or this is what we're gonna bring to the board as the most viable option. Before we can actually sign that work order one of the contract, we do have to post a 2-week notice for the 4217 agreement. So it's a formality, right? But you have to hold a public hearing because you're adopting a procurement method, which is design build for this project. So it is a 2-week notice, very kind of
We're
informal.
aware of that, yeah.
Yes, but I wanted to make sure that you knew that that would have to happen before that December meeting. The December meeting is the 10th, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and I have all those documents and can fill them out on your behalf. You basically just. post
Even
it.
if we don't make a decision, if they say no, it doesn't mean anything at that point.
Nope.
We're not locked in, even if we do the public hearing.
Correct.
And then the second question, I think, is to just further clarify, we do not have to make a decision on whether it's cash or financing on the December 10th meeting. We just have to make a decision as to whether we want sites, one site, 2 sites, or 3 sites, because that will be the outlay of the deposit money that is not a deposit, but it's a.
Work order one, let's call it.
Yeah. So we can then at a later date decide whether or not we want to finish paying in cash or finish paying as with finance.
Yes, that is correct.
But what about the public hearing? Is that on the 10th, once we make?
We'll do a public hearing on the 10th.
Yes.
It'll just be part of the board agenda at a different location.
Thank you. Director Saunders.
And I did want to bring up the possibility of the option as not moving forward, if that's an option that we still are looking forward to keep going if we get funding. So that's still the option, because we did ask for the 18-month option.
This doesn't remove that window. Like I stated previously, the only reason is because something had
Yeah, I
changed.
saw that happen, but just so the board is aware, we're not.
Option 4 is do nothing and let the IRA reimbursement go away. And we continue the full payment, yes.
Yes.
Do we have excuse me, do we have I don't think we voted on first and second on that one.
I didn't hear a full motion.
No, there was a first and second, but there was
We didn't make the most, we didn't get, that's right. Thank you.
Are
All
you
in
clear on the
favor?
motion?
Aye. Hold on.
The motion,
There was a lot of talking. I didn't hear a clear I motion too.
We need to restate it. I'm
If you
I
could.
think I
just-
understand it. There was a
Go for
lot
it.
going on. Motion that we bring back the options on December 10th to the board to make a decision on the commitment of the initial purchase for all 3 options. Is that good enough?
potential.
4 options.
4 options.
Do
1,
nothing.
2, 3, and no.
Do nothing.
So there was already, I think I just codified what we already moved. So I think we just vote, right? I don't
No,
know.
you just give another second,
Another
just.
second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
You also have another option.
Public comments closed, just so you.
No, but
Yeah.
part cash and part loan.
No,
Yeah. do both.
I
Financing.
just stated that we don't have to have anything for
Right, but
that.
I'm saying for the finance.
anyway, as we move on, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. Item number 8C, consideration of drug approval. Truck purchasers.
Yeah, so kind of in relation to the previous item, we are looking to purchase 2 vehicles as per the CIP from this approved budget. One is to approve a larger truck purchase. We have a Dodge Ram 5500 pickup truck that has begun to cost the district more money than is feasible, in our opinion, as staff. And we are looking to purchase a vehicle for the office staff and for running around the district. Also for when we have staff members going to conferences. It is also an fully electric vehicle that we are looking to purchase. So the relation to the previous item is it would include the purchase of a temporary charger just for that one vehicle. So that we could have it here and allow it to charge. I'll turn it over to Adam to kind of give some more particulars about the item and kind of what we're doing and moving forward. And if you have any questions.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add to that was, when we have our summary that kind of tracks, you know, replace or keep vehicles. So attached to the staff report. Truck 10, which is it's the Dodge 5500 for use for treated water. And I think it really highlights what that truck is. You know, it gets used every single day, and it's since January 21, we've got $33,000 in repair cost of that truck, which is 64% higher than any other vehicle in the fleet. Obviously, it's a heavier duty truck, so it's just going to cost more. It does exclude the dump truck repair for the larger dump we just did a few months ago. And the distribution lead and myself, you know, I've really been trying to, like, you know, what's best for the district. So it was about 2 years ago, we purchased the Ford 550, which also is for distribution. So that is another heavy duty vehicle. For this one, we're proposing a little bit smaller, like a class 3, which is typically like a 3500 instead of the 5500. I think how our operations are working, I think that will give us some flexibility with our day-to-day tasks, but also give us the flexibility to haul when we do need to. It's that side of it, and it's the office vehicle as well. Complicated and bad for that.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just looking at your rating of, I have a question.
Richard Fisher.
Thank you. Looking at your ratings, I see you've rated the tandem axle dump truck at a higher replacement rating. It's just because it's a bigger, takes more time.
So if you look on the bottom, there's a couple of rating categories. One is called light, medium, and heavy.
Okay.
That is considered a heavy duty truck. The truck we're replacing is considered medium.
The highest priority of the mediums.
So, and to explain that a little bit, so there's kind of two different values there. There's the years, the age of the vehicle, the mileage of the vehicle, and there's also the vehicle replacement rate, which is based off our vehicle replacement policy that the district has. The number really comes from the last 5 their age usage, which is out of our OpenGov cartograph system. And why that Unit 18 is so high is because of that last repair for the engine. That's why. So it really drove that number up. Obviously, we're not wanting to replace that vehicle now because we put money into that. We're keeping it. But that we're kind of just formulas that kind of put those numbers out. If that makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah. Dr. Chandler.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Adam. These were some of the investments we've made in the district, getting the cartograph system so we can keep track of the vehicles, because this used to be our highest 800-900% we were spending on vehicle maintenance when I was on the finance committee. That was one of the things we tried to get down. And now we have the running list of the vehicles and when we're planning to replace them. So we're able to budget it in the CIP a little better. So at least we know what's coming up, and this is already budgeted in the CIP. So that's good. And the staff has been, for the most part, pretty good in keeping vehicles a little longer. So we haven't been getting a new vehicle all the time as well. So,
and if I could just jump onto that statement, we actually have our mileage is higher than a GSA mileage replacement. So we actually, as a board, took the initiative to to keep a vehicle longer than, say, the GSA standard, because of the way we operate, because of, we don't need it newer things as often, so I will say that that's something the board took into consideration.
Okay, my question,
Yeah.
you have anything, Mitch? Good.
The charging station?
So it's, this is just a, what they would call like a plug-in to the walls charging station. It's not, the same.
The charger.
It's just a charger. It's not the same as what we're gonna get installed by the solar company. This is only cost, I think, $500, right?
A little more than that, like under $5,000.
More than that.
Under $5,000. Because
Sorry, I don't remember.
because you have the infrastructure, I think the actual piece of equipment is about $2,200, $2,500 and then. But
So,
So could you explain this part here on the fiscal impact where we're talking EVs and it's estimated vehicle purchase will be utilized approximately 140,000 of the budget and 5,000 for installation of 2 charging stations.
a level 2 charging.
Level 2, okay, but it's $5,000 to install it. And then an amount to buy it. And then the 140 is for 2 vehicles.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
So how does this offset when we're putting in solar charge, or we're putting in, say, in December, we put in solar charge or the charging stations, then this goes as junk. Because now we have the dual charging station in the back and this is now, we bought it, now we're
So,
gonna just have it hanging out and it go useless. So
I mean,
I'm running with this question of, are we buying something that we're not gonna be utilizing if we start this project in the next year, and now it's just gonna be, wire hanging out with a plug? And then why do we need to have the extra charging station in the back if we've got this that you can hook up to as it is, and we should look at maybe the finance committee looking at, oh, can we pull off one of those charging stations because we only need the ones in the front and not in the back?
so that was completely the option that we were going to present. This is a slower charger, so it's not gonna be as fast, but we can always remove the other chargers from the solar project if this project is working, or maybe we just reallocate where those chargers are going.
Right, but that needs to be at the finance committee. That's information that should be going to the finance committee. So we're looking at the big picture, not just this other little piece that, oh, that might come in or might not come in. Yeah,
Understood.
that kind of information needs to move forward also.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So,
Would you
yeah,
like to
that's-
tag on mine?
Tag it after you, yeah, so, yeah, and let's say, do you need it? It might be a couple of years before we get the solar charges, so what do you do in the meantime if you need it? What do you do if you don't have it?
I think that was the thought going into this, and it's like, the level 2 is the overnight charger, it's not a fast charger, so the most basic one you can have, right? But yeah, so at the time of the solar, I think is kind of unknown right now. That's all.
Any other question?
I was just gonna ask in light of your question, is it's the kind of thing you could move up to Walton? Something, if we got the solar chargers here, you could move that one and use it somewhere else. Would it be completely useless or?
I don't think we can put it uses, yeah.
Then you get that $5,000 installation,
That's for the part and installation.
but then we would have to do that at Walton.
Yeah, part of that, not all of it, because you already have the infrastructure.
Right, we'd have to put infrastructure up there.
Well, no, we'd have the infrastructure here, just be kind of the decommission and installation. You could just kind of move it. I think your first question was asking.
Right, if we move it, you have to have the insulation of the wiring to the wall. So that whole cost is another cost to have it moved to Walton.
Right.
Run an extension for it.
Yeah.
All the way up to Walton.
Okay, are we done?
With that,
Okay, public comment.
I don't know if it's the county or state, but there's a $10,000 grant. I just put it on what's actually happening.
I think it's the county. That's what
Yes, 10,000.
if you, for public entities, well, it should pay for the whole charge. I think it pays for the whole charge. I've looked into it, so.
And there is one at the library. Somebody.
Yeah, I know that,
It was the only one that they could think of that's, yeah. Cause I posted, we could use some of these and they go, well, get rid of the electric cars. And I'm going, well, there's people with electric cars. Anyway, so it could be the county.
Okay, any other public comment? Public comment closed. do we have any more discussion? Do we wanna vote? Wanna make a motion? Of purchasing
I make a motion,
not to exceed 150,000.
make a motion that, the board accepts staff recommendation to approve the district vehicles and level 2 charging station with the spending authority up to $150,000. And it does have in there before tax, so.
So that means it's over 150,000.
It likely, won't, I don't think, right?
I think so, no.
It's-
I put that in there just in case.
All right, so we'll keep it at 150,000. They could always come forward with an amendment.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Think. Motion passed. Okay, so we're up to 8E, approve of changes to the irrigation committee policy 4105.01 and the finance committee policy 4105.2. I'll tell you, I went and did some research because this happened to be one of our policy committee things. And we had put in the limits of when somebody was going to get removed and when somebody wasn't. And somehow the policies that came out did not have that in there.
I will tell you that it's probably access issues to someone's computer that we don't have anymore.
Yeah, there was a year where all of the policies that we
This was,
voted on during the board never made it in paper, so.
yeah,
Which is coming in new to this, I'm gonna see if we could request a background on this item.
So there was a director request to discuss potential removal proceedings for a committee member. There has been issues with quorum related committee having to be canceled. The thought process was if a committee member was not present, there's a couple different options that can be utilized. One is consecutively 3 times, one is 3 times within 1 year. If there's a, I think it's a continued level of absence. It would be within the board's purview at that point to remove said committee member and bring in somebody else. Obviously, in the finance committee, we don't have a lot of membership, but in the irrigation committee, we are full and there could potentially be other folks interested in joining that committee if one of the committee members was derelict in their duties. We also utilized an opportunity. I sent it to our legal counsel for some cleanup in some other areas as well. You can notice in the staff report, we have 2 different options for the board members to choose from on how we want this to look. And there was also a question of the term limits, January 1st to December 31st. And then if you go to the second page of the staff report, there was an issue, I wouldn't say it was an issue. There was a question that came up recently about the board's liaison's role on the committee and how they can participate in the meetings. So there was some language changes to make them a little bit more flexible because they are not voting members of the committee and are only in attendance to report back to the board. There was some board language changes to that section. So I will take any kind of questions at this time. Also, Frank worked on this as well, so he would have some insight as well.
And I'll just.
go ahead.
Yeah, I just add some more background to that. So the last finance committee meeting, I also had a meeting that was with the Department of Water Resources, so I couldn't physically come here, so I wanted to zoom in. And then it all became, even though we're the liaison, we're considered part of the board, even though we're not part of the quorum. So then do we have to go with the full Brown Act, teleconferencing and all of that? So that's why that was changed for the. wouldn't cover that Brown Act thing.
Yeah, I just felt like when I looked at it, the language was, as it relates to liaison for the irrigation committee anyways, it referred to them as members of the committee. And so it was just, it introduced that ambiguity, so we wanted to make it clear they're serving just as advisory to the committee, they don't constitute being members of the committee. Their attendance is not necessary for purposes of a quorum, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to make that clear. To me, that doesn't change the substance, it just changes, it makes it clearer.
Yeah, because that was never a problem that we've had,
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
And I can give you the one that was supposed to be put on the, policy. And the costs for removal. So I don't know if we want to have a third option. Just throwing it out there since this is what we voted on already once. Costs for such removal include but is not limited to non-attendance of 3 regularly scheduled meetings in a calendar year. So we had originally voted for a calendar year, not 6 months.
Okay, yeah, this was this was legal language that I took directly from our legal counsel, not Frank, other legal counsel. I just want to make sure I preface that it wasn't here. I'm not throwing Frank under the bus.
please do.
No, so that's why I said, I just happened to run across.
Yeah.
Our fun times we had,
So the
and what
only-
we're supposed to have gone through.
So I guess the changes, you could accept the changes as they lie. Do you want it to be 3 consecutive or 3 throughout a year?
I would say, well, my preference would be 3 in a calendar year, and I'll see what the other members are, and I would just like to fix the language of removal, so that's like, option is, the 3 calendar years.
It'll say exactly what it says here at the bottom of the staff report. Go to the staff report. I left options in the front page of the staff report with highlights of what it would read for the whole removal section. Front page. The very bottom one would be 3 I'm sorry, 3 in the calendar year. The second one up would be 3 consecutive.
Okay, yeah, that's better.
Remember to the board.
Is this cast in stone, is it, or is it still option?
There's, you can suggest, however you'd like to have the verbiage come out right now.
Because let's say there was 3 on the finance committee and,
So
if you kick them off the.
Well, it's a consideration too.
Yeah, but it's also, you gotta figure if they're not showing up, you're not, in finance committee's issue, you won't have a meeting.
Yeah, and I think that's why it says the board reserves the right and ultimate discretion, so say you have one finance committee member not show up for 3 meetings. And you're like, well, we don't really want to dissolve the finance committee because of this person, so we can encourage them to continue to come. This is more of a, when you have somebody who is causing an harm to the committee. And maybe being derelict in their, being able to show up continually. I would say. At this moment, today, this is more geared towards the irrigation committee
And
than
they have
the
a waiting
finance
list.
committee. But
And you have a waiting.
They like it.
numbers aren't as popular as water, wet water is fun.
We have fun.
Okay.
Andy.
I think I'm gonna ask the question you just answered just a little differently, but the board can remove any finance or irrigation committee member
Correct.
anytime they want. So what we're really saying is this is the expectation that we want them to be aware of.
Correct. And I would say, let me just give you an example of how it would work in a different fashion. We see somebody who's not attended in 3 meetings, the staff members could bring it to the board, say, here's the issue. And then in the other case in which you're saying is, oh my gosh, John Franklin is just causing too much disruption on the irrigation committee and he's, we're not able to get any work done. As a board, we'd like to remove him from that position. I think that's a different argument than what we're going for here.
But it's not board.
You're trying to set the expectation.
It's not what now?
I think the question that had come up before is that the committee members are not wanting to be the bad guys, trying to request to remove people.
Sure.
I think it was to be thrown back to the board has to make these decisions. So I guess it would then become the liaison's responsibility to bring it back to the board.
Well, it's always the liaison's responsibility. So if you have a member
Well-
that isn't showing up, the liaison would work with staff to find out why and work
Well,
with them.
so the chairperson normally comes back to the board with all their information on the committee.
Yeah, but the liaison is attending every meeting, so that issue is known. So, I mean, we all work together. So, I mean, the goal is to have everything, have it work smoothly, but if you're not having meetings and there's a list, then you can't put a person on because there's a person not showing up and you've reached out to the person, this gives you a good path.
And I think that would be captured in the letter A for board liaison. The duties of the board liaison include presenting relevant data to the board and arranging for any presentation of important progress on projects to the board by the committee chairperson. So the board liaison is there to bring back information, and I think the board liaison can come back and say, Mr. Franklin is being very disruptive. I'm using just a name out of generalities, that he's being very disruptive. I think we need to put him up for removal from this committee because we're not able to get anything done.
Any more comments, questions? Go ahead.
I think I'm happy with you just taking it all in. I guess the only downside with the 3 within a year is you gotta wait a year. You got somebody to.
Yeah, I
Well,
think you want to give people benefit of the doubt as
Sure.
well.
Well, that's one of the other options. I mean, if you don't agree with Saunders,
You could move it, you could ramp it up, yeah.
we could it can be ramped up to 3 meetings within 6 months. I
Yeah,
mean, that's a lot of missing in 6 months.
3 consecutive or 5 within a year or something.
And
like
it's- And realistically, it will be based on what?
Either or.
Whether they have a legitimate reason not to be there.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, I think that's. We lost a board member.
Oh, wow. You got a quorum?
They'll have a quorum.
Are we done? Okay, public,
I don't see any, they have to go by the irrigation and finance have to go by the Brown Act, right?
yeah,
Okay, so why isn't there something in here about the Zoom and if they can be, like, say Bob is today technically?
he's not doing, he's not doing.
Right, but there's nothing in these 2 committees that I can see has anything to say if they can be on Zoom.
Same with the Brown Act. It's either a Brown Act.
I'm happy to answer if the board wants to direct me to answer the
And-
question.
I would,
And when public comment is completed.
I guess that's incomplete.
And you're Ann?
Yes. So, we both read December. The 2 comments that I want to make about this is that just in the language that, I'm looking at the finance language is mirrored in the other one. On the section where it says, or remove for any cause or any cause with or without notice. It just kind of seems like it seems rather punitive. And that, just the line above it, the previous line was maybe removed by affirmative vote with the members of the board. That it just seems a little harsh, from my perspective. And the other question I did have about this on the board liaison on the finance committee is that, on the older version, it said that the committee would, that the treasurer had to be one of the liaisons to the finance committee. And this is just saying any 2 directors. And it would just seem like it makes sense for the treasurer to be on the finance committee because they would understand what's going on and be in a better position. So I'm not sure why that would be dropped. It just seems logical for the treasurer.
I don't think it's struck.
The liaison.
The church is still in it, because that was one of the things we had talked about prior.
Yeah, that's in the board liaison section. Section 4, and this is on the finance committee. One
Oh,
director up to a maximum of 2 total directors, and the older version. Says
I think,
or treasurer and another director for a total of 2 directors.
I think when legal made the changes, they may have deleted that section because it says 1 director. It should say board treasurer and 1 other director. So we can, I think it's more of a typo than anything, but that's a good catch.
Good catch.
So
See that?
And then the other question I had about this, and sort of one more out, is shouldn't this go to the committees to look at too before changes in the?
That was one.
Public comment closed.
Are you guys done?
I think is there anything else you want to say?
Well, I object to the language. I believe this is the new version of the language. Removal for any reason or no reason whatsoever, no reason at all.
That's the whole language.
That's not a public relations.
Thank you. Public comment closed, and actually to answer to what you're gonna answer it in one of these, that it is Brown Act and it states. And I think both of these should look pretty much the same, and they shouldn't be having variations, so I think the line by line needs to take care of that. Where these are kind of the same language in each one of those items. Did you have anything else to add, Frank?
No, I was just gonna say that, the committees are subject to the Brown Act, and so the full options available under state law exist by state law. There are a lot of things that apply to the committee relative to state law that we don't put in the actual policy because they exist by operational right. So I would just say we can certainly put it, but we would just be restating essentially what state law allows us to do anyways.
Yeah.
And I would just like to say in terms of the removal with or without cause, that may smack someone's ears as punitive or harsh, or I think public relations, but the reality is this governing body needs flexibility and discretion to be able to govern and govern well and appoint members to a committee well. And the language, while it may smack a layperson's ears as being harsh or punitive, it's just giving them the discretion that this body needs to be able to make the changes it needs if something were to happen. All committees and all advisory bodies of all public agencies that I wear serve and work at the pleasure of the governing body. So it's not spectacular or unique in that regard. Maybe we can use softer language to say they enjoy total discretion to appoint and remove, but they have to govern. This body has to govern. You are elected to govern. So that's why that language is in there.
Thank you.
Can I answer your first concern? I copied and pasted the Brown Act language from the irrigation policy into the finance policy because it was lacking. So they are line for line the same verbiage.
Okay, that's what I was noticing. One was in there and one wasn't.
Yeah,
And so it needs to be probably gone through completely to verify that line for line, the purpose is covered, everything's the same wording, where it's not like we're missing a line somewhere in one or not in the other. And then I don't know if we want to make a motion to review it again in December, but that could be an option. Director Saunders.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was gonna say. The wording should have been the same. It was originally the same,
Yeah.
but translation never came out. The other thing is that language, you missed the long meetings we had when we discussed this language, and that in terms decided to say not only as, I know it sounds harsh, but it's also a protection of the committee members. Cause if there is actually a serious reason that we did have to remove someone, we don't have to discuss it at the public. So that was one of the reasons we kept that in there, because there was something that did come up where we had to remove someone and we didn't want to discuss it publicly. So that gives us that option as well, even though there was long discussions with that person. So it's not like the person was unaware, but that also protects them from having a public meeting where we put that out in the public. So and it also mirrors the language of all of our at-will employees. So that was a legal issue there. And our policy on teleconferencing includes committees. So we do have a policy for teleconferencing, and it does include the language of all formal bodies of the board, so all standing committees. So it's in our policy.
But if you're a new person and you just look at that, you don't know that.
You get an orientation if you're on the committee, so.
Hopefully you get.
Yeah.
Director Fisher.
I think Director Saunders covered just about everything, probably better than I was going to. I guess I'll just say I'm kind of leaning, unless there's an urgency, it sounds like there were some constructive comments here. It might be good to bring it back in December with those comments made and bring a clean copy back. Okay.
So I guess, we're going with the board direction to staff is to bring this back in December, a clean copy. So we have,
Did you want the 3 month, three for a year, or
that's
three?
probably what we need to vote on.
What language?
Which, so the first or second in the front of the staff report, just,
Yeah, it's either. Well, there's one that's non-attended 3 regularly scheduled meetings in a calendar year. There is,
Any 3 meetings within a rolling span of 6 months, they may
Yes.
be removed.
or within a 6 months then.
And I would just add in there,
Yeah, the first one doesn't have a time frame.
and I would add unexcused absence, so it's.
yeah, I would say that's probably good. We could add that word on
The
unexcused.
problem with that language is,
Who does the excuse me?
exactly.
Who's gonna make that
Okay, yeah, so
determination?
we can find that out.
I've had this issue come before, and then we have a whole, not in this district, but other clients, they will have a whole spin-off political battle over whether something was excused. I rather have it, either it's bright line, yes or no.
And I think if it becomes an issue, that person could be invited to the board meeting and they could explain their case. Or they could talk to board members and explain their case, and then that can be brought to the board as information, evidence, whatever you want to use it.
So am I seeing we have 3 options? So the first one is if any board member fails to attend 3 consecutive meetings with no year listed. If any fails to attend any 3 meetings within a rolling span of 6 months, they can be removed. Or the original one that said, not limited to non-attendance of 3 regularly scheduled meetings in a calendar year.
Like 6 months, because it still is discretionary. We're just saying, here's the basic expectation for our committee members.
Up to you, Mitch, because 2 of us hashed this out a long time ago, so.
Mitch's turn.
You heard.
It's 3 within 6 months or 3 within a year.
Regularly scheduled, and there's about roughly 9 a year.
There are between 6 and 9 finance meetings and probably 7 to 9 irrigation meetings. We take a few months off here and there.
That's right. 6 months is kind of short.
Yeah, I would say the year is probably, but you're better bet.
Especially when irrigation
Yeah,
comes off some seasons, so.
yeah, okay.
Are you making a determination?
So I would say we keep the original language that, kind of thing.
Do you want my?
You
piece of
seem to have a
paper?
motion pretty well laid out in your head if you want to make it.
We'll try to find it on the server. We have
I
a,
can give it to you.
no, I understand. I'm just saying we have a server with a bunch of documents that we can't access right now.
Oh, no, but this is some of the fine print that we had. And why did that jump off my calendar and at me? I don't know.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah. So the motion really is just staff direction to bring this back. Well, we did make a motion on the calendar length to
1
be
year,
1 year.
3 within 1 year.
3 within 1 year.
And when we bring it back, I may bring it back just to consent calendar, because I'll send it out to the board for fine tuning. And I'll just bring it back for consent calendar approval, if that's okay with you all, because you guys have given us good direction on what we want here. And you guys can approve it as a consent item.
Can I have a second on the calendar?
Yeah, seconded.
Okay, so Mitch seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Think, no. Okay, I think prison board requests go into the after the fact.
Yeah, I usually do it before in case.
Okay,
somebody wants to hear,
so
but
the only,
I don't have it. written.
so item 10 is, we're gonna bring back the, hold on. It's gonna come to me.
What's your husband's name? What's your husband's name?
The ad hoc, the strategic
What's your husband's name?
planning
Ron, thank you.
document will come back at next meeting. Did you catch that?
Well, I'm so sorry. I would read it for the
Yes, yes,
minutes.
that's why I stopped in the strategic planning document. Will come back at next meeting. Whether it's, however it comes back, it's gonna come back.
Say draft.
Right.
Yeah, well, it has to be voted on anyway, so it's still a draft, so whatever form of draft it is, it needs to come back.
I will bring it back in whatever form we have it now, and if there's any changes along the way, we'll bring that changes back along.
Perfect, yes, and make sure you get it up so we can look at it again, or at least I wanna look at it again.
I will, I'll have.
You remember how we did that?
No, I do. I'll have Jessica make a teams. I'm so sorry. We've been like,
No, but that's
some
what
of
it
that
is.
stuff is,
And that will be easier because all you have to do is upload the document. We can make comments on it and then it can move forward.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I think we're up to, ding, 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 let me get the proper time.
I got 4:43.
I have 4:43. We will be going into closed session.
Okay, this is.
Public comment. Ready for
Who
public
is on
comment?
Zoom?
Michael, I don't know who it is.
Michael,
Just say, is there any public comment
do
online?
you have any public comments to make before I close the meeting completely?
On
And
close.
close into, and go into closed session?
Is mic off?
All right, you can close.
One thing I'm gonna let the, I'll catch up to us. Okay, you should be good to go, Madam President.
The board has returned from closed session and there is nothing to report out. The time is 6:53 PM. Is there anything else that needs to come before this board? Our next meeting date is December 10th, 2025 at 2 PM, Georgetown Public Utility District, Main Street, Georgetown. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to.
All in favor?
Aye.